All right, it's time to brush up on these qualification rules, get the rule book out. Okay, so an event of a tie, there is this, and then the next team, and you carry the one, and this is ridiculous. This is Dave, are you getting any of this?
No, Toppy's not one bit, man. Not at all.
Clover, do you have any information?
Yeah, I think I've got it, Toffees.
Thank
I'm
God.
pretty sure I'm getting it. As long as you remember to divide the binomial by pi and... Wait, no, I don't get it, Toffees. I'm completely lost.
Monomials? Pi? You know what? Let's just bring in the big guns. Can we please get Cameron in on this? Cameron, are you there?
Guys, I don't understand how this is so complicated. It's very simple. All you have to do is just...
It was not simple, but thank goodness Cameron stopped by to help us walk through the math to determine who gets to go to the grand final and who is playing here tonight. It is time for the mobile mashup. My name is Toffees, and it's our final day of play here at the Open Qualifiers. As a quick reminder, let's run back through the format just so you guys know exactly what teams had to do to get to here. We started with a round of 32. We got to 16. Yesterday, we played the round of 16, and we found out who's going to the grand final. So we'll get into that a little bit more tonight because all of the grand final tickets have been given out. Cameron will walk us through why, but we are playing for $3,000 and bragging rights, as well as my wife says, the most important scrims of these teams' lives, because there is a lot on the line next weekend when they come to do battle. I'm not going to alone. I'm bringing the expert in, the brain who helped us figure it all out. It is the Cameron Davis. Good day, my friend. How are you doing?
Howdy. I'm doing good. I'm chilling, ready to go. Listen, it's not the peak of this entire event. That, of course, is going to be next weekend, but still, there's something special about the very final day of this long, arduous qualification process that a number of these teams have been really is that a word? That's not a word. Moving through. Back to you, Steve, please.
You know, and it may not be the peak of this competition, but it'll be a really good peak at the grand final, I think, because all of the teams playing today are qualified, but they're not the only ones. So why don't you walk me through who's actually qualified?
Yeah, so the main thing we need to talk about here, there's a number of teams that we all recognize, but the main thing we need to mention is that the big pickle, we realized, shared a lot of players with Team Sanity roster. So while we do appreciate their practice that they got this week, you can't compete in the same event in two separate teams. So they have, while we will see them tonight, they're not going to be in the grand finals, and La Familia is going to be the team replacing them. So that's why it might look a little confusing to you right now, but these are going to be our 16 teams, the 2 groups of 8. The seeding has yet to be fully confirmed because, again, we still have games tonight that are definitely going to affect how those teams are broken up. But that's who we're going to be seeing next weekend.
It's also kind of fun because when you watch the Big Pickle tonight, that means we can kind of get a preview for what Team Sanity is going to be doing in the grand final. And I wonder if maybe Win Sanity knew that they were practicing, or if he's annoyed because, hey, they're giving away the secrets. They were going to try to surprise everyone in the grand final, and now we get to make book on them. There are other teams, the ones who are playing tonight, they want to make $3,000. Cameron, could you introduce us to who's taking the field or who to keep an eye on maybe?
What?
Like if we run back and take a look at the highlights from last night, what happened, all these teams, the people who play.
Yes. Yeah, the replay. So La Familia here. Yeah, unfortunately they had a couple of standout games yesterday, bookmarked, highlighted by a 12-kill victory. But unfortunately, they weren't able to qualify tonight. We will see them next weekend. Not going to be in the round of 8 that we're seeing in the next couple of hours here. So they're just going to have to sit back. They're going to be, probably making their own book, their own study. We're going to have to wait. The Big Pickle, though, / Team Sanity, these guys came bursting into the scene with a lot of fragging power. And most importantly, very well played late game positioning, reminiscent of MP49 Panthers in terms of how many raw points they have been able to score. They're going to be going for the first place prize tonight, not only for seeding, but especially for the money involved that we're going to be spreading here in the final round of 8. These guys have been looking really, really good. We still have to figure out who is who on Team Sanity and Pickle because the names are different, but Americas, this is another team similar to the Big Pickle, not quite as explosive. The numbers just aren't quite matching the Big Pickle, but they're still looking good. And they have gone head-to-head successfully against a couple of the juggernaut teams that we have been so used to. Panthers, Pure Love, M249. So today, for this team as well, tonight is going to be a really good look, a really good peek, as you mentioned, Steve, into what we're going to be seeing coming out from them next weekend. They have the games tonight to get some more reps under their belt. And then Strangers BD, I mean, these guys have been competing in the new State Mobile Mashup from the very first Influencer event. However, it has taken them a while to actually advance the way to the grand finals, but now they're here now. So hopefully we can see them continue to develop their game even further, and we'll be looking to see how they perform next weekend.
So as you look at the boards, this is from last night in Group B. I think you bring up a great point with Strangers BD to wrap that one up. I mean, it's like literally we can freeze time for a second and think about their performance over the last couple of weeks. And where they were last night is very, I would say, representative of how they've performed. Always kind of in the middle, always hopefully advancing. Yeah. And they got through, I don't say on technicality, but on the fact that there were a lot of positions to give away yesterday. And I'm curious how they'll do when it comes to the grand final. Today is going to be a big deal for them to get some practice in, or actually just to watch. They don't get to play today. Never mind. They've got to go into the big show and try to make something happen. Let's look at Group A after they played last night. Those are the other 8 teams that took the field. Everyone on the left side will be taking the field tonight for the round of 8. Everybody on the right, even if they have an asterisk, has to watch from home and just try to make book. M249 Fan Club continues to seem incredibly unbeatable as they finish with a whopping 89 points. This team is starting to feel prolific, for lack of a better word, Cameron.
Yeah. However, I will say just the 89 points are staring me right in the face and kind of telling me that I might be reaching for this narrative just a little bit too far. There have been a couple of moments, and I distinctly remember there being a couple of games last weekend where M249 showed signs of weakness. So maybe they qualified from the very beginning, right? So the pressure isn't on them as much this time around. However, this is the best practice that you're going to be getting, and you need to be practicing how you're going to be playing in the grand finals. So, maybe those sort of faulty games that we see from time to time, maybe that is something that we're going to be seeing more often in the grand finals as other teams also step up their games, or that could just be M249 seeing how far they can really push themselves before they get their train off the rails, and now they're finding themselves in a really solid center position that is going to be virtually unbeatable.
You're right. The meta's been evolving. They won early. Maybe it's evolving past them. We'll find out. 86 points. Tells me maybe not, but let's bring in 2 experts who will have their eyes on the entire thing. And it's going to be Mustache Dave and Clover. They have been watching this entire event. They've got great insights on those teams. So let's pull up again who we're watching, look at those rosters, and I'm going to go right down the line so you can pick the team to keep an eye on. Dave?
Yeah, I love the discussion that you guys were kind of talking about, and I agree. M249 have been showing some weaknesses here, and I think one of their main weaknesses is not getting 100 points last night like they usually do. Only 89 points, not enough. So maybe tonight, 100 points, they can bounce back.
Dave, I don't know if you've had a chance to work with Cameron this year. Cameron is a hard person to please, but he is often right. Clover, who's your pick to keep an eye on?
You know what? I think if it's going to be a team to beat Fan Club, potentially Violent by Nature, but Syntax is where my eyes are. I think that they are a massively consistent team that just keeps getting better and better as we've watched them through every series. I love what I've seen from them so far this weekend, and there's not a single player on this roster that I can't compliment for some kind of clutch plays. Though Jedi, he's been trolling with the drone, so I'm looking for that again today.
Cam, do you want to stick to 249? You want to spotlight someone else?
I'm actually liking Syntax as well. I wouldn't go so far as Clover just did at saying that there could potentially beat M249. I think there's still a little bit of a gap between the two teams. However, one thing that I really liked about Syntax looking at yesterday's games is that they did not have a single game that they had 0 points. They were able to get something from every single round, and that is such a good default, such a good floor to have as a team.
We got next weekend, the 1st through the 3rd, 16 teams drop in. We got a lot of games to play, multiple days of action, and $200,000 on the line. The first round of training starts right here. Game number 1, 8 qualified teams, a chance to test their strength against each other. Let's do it. Let's get into this. Me and Cameron are out of here. Take it away, you two.
There you go. I was waiting for the fly off the screen. He has that down to an absolute science, Dave. I tried and I just looked silly. So Toffee's in style as always.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect every single night. It only gets better too. I gotta try it. I gotta try to fly off.
Yeah. You know, that's when we send off later. That's what we're gonna do. But you want to talk about trying things. So many of these teams we've talked about have already come into this weekend pre-qualified, and that kind of gave us a different display in their talents. We saw teams try things new, try things differently, maybe practice crashing compounds, practice playing the edge versus playing center, and at this point now, this is kind of in a way our final scrim, our final opportunity for these teams to get things out and try things new before we go forward to the grand finals. There's still money on the line today, by all means, and huge bragging rights, as well as I have kind of been told this is going to affect how teams are going to be seeded going the next week. So if you're a team that hasn't quite been performing well, you gotta make sure you show off today, and there's a lot of opportunity for that. Yes, M249's in this lobby, but Violent by Nature actually gave them a pretty big run for their money in that group yesterday. And I think that teams like Syntax, like Pure Love, and the Panthers are also going to be in a position, to play for those frags, to play for those kills. And speaking of, look at this, a hot drop to start this first match, Dave.
Yeah, this is going to be the Big Pickles, aka Winsanity squad over here, practicing some hot drops across the way. Violent by Nature, we were just kind of mentioning them and talking to With No Honor. They told me what they wanted to work on today was their mental game, practice that mental game to prepare for the grand finals. And for example, when and when not to push. And I think this is the best practice possible, right? Early game, you got a nice position in circle number one. You got a pretty strong team right across the way. So all it takes is one knock and they'll know exactly who's over there. And I'm really curious to see if they decide to just full send it or play a little slow, maybe try something new like a 3-1 split, get that one solo to wrap all the way around with that flank. And it's about to unfold here. We already see a bunch of shots ringing on out, and we keep talking about how today is the best scrim possible, and I couldn't agree anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and Violent by Nature, this is absolutely a team that lives up to their name. I really think that when we think of like the high scoring, high fragging, high action teams that look for that engagement, when they feel so inclined to chase, it is definitely one of these teams that comes to mind. But right now, it looks like we are going to be seeing the Big Pickle drive off. And, you know, you heard it at the top of the show, right, Dave? This is kind of a bit of I guess in a way like a scrim stream. You know, you've got Bacon Rick, who is Sam, Doodle Dude, who's Maple, Doodle Bob, who's Cloudy, and they're already playing with the Winsanity team, so they've gotten that good work in. I just don't think they quite realize, wait, if you're playing in the open quals, but then you're also in another team. So it is exciting, though, that we're going to keep seeing more and more teams that played their hearts out yesterday, rewarded with those additional spots. And I know that next week's grand finals are going to be absolutely huge in terms of one of our biggest so far new state event. Now, all that to be said, we do need to see some of those other teams step it up. M249, we can see right there, 1149 there in damage. And we saw throughout the weekends at some point, some teams almost break 10,000 damage. That's the kind of play that we're going to need to expect from a team that would be winning a grand finals. So now that we finally got a lot of the big hitters in a lobby together, that's where my eyes are. I'm going to see if some of these guys can actually just take away some of these limbs, some of these damage from those teams.
Who can step up? That's what tonight's all about. And the $3,000 for first place, $2,000 for second, $1,500 for third. That's tonight, right? That's tonight, and that's a nice paycheck. With that paycheck, any of these players, if they need to, in order to prepare for the grand finals, can easily get a device upgrade, which I know some of these teams have been doing already. For example, M249. I know Jason recently got a new device, and since then has been playing a lot better. And these are comments straight from them, right? Comments straight from them. I like to kind of chat up with these players here. So I think tonight is A, the perfect scrim lobby, yes, but also B, the perfect opportunity for these players to win some additional money here to better prepare themselves for the grand finals, where there's 200K in prizes on the line. That is massive. So I'm with you, and I'm with Toffees and Cam here. I'm looking forward to just seeing how these teams play here today, because I have to assume they're going to be trying some new things.
Yeah, and I mean, again, right? We're at the point now we're playing for the win. There's a lot of factors as we keep pointing out around the line, but we really want to see what teams are like when they're giving it their all versus each other. It can be a little bit tiring sometimes to just sit here and say, oh, it's the M249 show, you know, the M249 fan club, so to speak. But there are so many other teams in this lobby that I think are going to be really scary, that can still potentially dethrone them off that pedestal. I mean, we've heard it too. There's a lot of things that they need to work on. They're not a perfect, scary team by any means. So, Syntax, they really, I feel like watching them this whole weekend, I've got to see them in every single lobby thus far. They've been working on something different every single day. They've been picking different types of ways to play. They've kind of found their weaknesses and managed to play through it. You even heard the guys say they didn't have a single 0-point lobby. And when we say consistency, we're not just talking about the teams that are consistently winning, the teams that find the big kills. We're talking about the teams that very rarely have a wasted game, right? Panthers, can't say that quite about them. They did have a couple of low and 0-point games yesterday. Yes, they were working on some things. They were really kind of holding on to high ground rotations, playing along the edge. But there was also some fights where I felt like even given the circumstances, they should have won that. So that's kind of what we're looking at when we're watching a lot of these teams today, and even moving forward, because this is such a new esport. It's so exciting to in this inaugural season, really, of our first qualifying event, to see how well that these guys are not only creating the meta but evolving and developing it further.
Yeah, the Panthers, for me, just to kind of add on to your point, a real either hot or cold team. I don't feel like we've seen that consistent play style yet from them, like you mentioned that we've seen at least last night from STX. And STX last night, to me, they kind of implemented what ATS were doing on their first night. ATS not qualifying, but ATS playing the zones perfectly every single match, just not able to capitalize on those elim points. But I believe we got the expert Cameron Davis here to break down the zone.
Yeah, tell us how to play this zone.
Yeah, we already had a hard shift go up towards the northwest, but it's early in the game, so, you know, not that big of a deal. But a second hard shift in a row, despite being a little bit of a different direction, could be a little complicated for a number of these teams, especially these guys here and over here who have already been driving for a fair bit. Granted, I think for Pure Love, they're really the beneficiaries up here because this entire area is wide open. So if they can find themselves a solid position to hold down here and get themselves prepared for combat while everyone else is still getting settled up on this big east side, then they should be in a good position going forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Cameron. Yeah, I mean, he brings up a good point, Dave. There's a lot of open terrain in this area. You can see the white patches. That's all the cotton fields that teams right now are kind of avoiding. They're trying to make sure they're not rotating through those big open areas. And talking about rotations, we've got a crash happening right here between Syntax. It looks like the Big Pickle drove right into it. There was a recovery, so they did get the res up from Syntax. But you can see they're kind of now in a strange place. There's not a lot of opportunities to go. M249 also in this area.
Yeah, crashing into that rock right there. I believe STX were opting to head towards that compound that M249 kind of just yoinked right from them here. And Cameron was talking about all the teams that are going to be here on that east side. I do like how STX are going to be playing the foothills, but they need to be very careful not to get third party from the Panthers up there to the north, which Jedi currently is being shot, I believe, with the Mini 14. Yeah, immediately deploying that shield right there to block those sightlines.
There you go. And blocking sightlines, we're seeing right now exactly why that's important. A couple of scopes out, snipers, see some repositionings. The cars really coming in clutch with these rotations. You really see right now Panthers trying to play for that high ground. Again, we've talked about they love these high ground positions. The problem, of course, being that's not the only ones alone up here. But I think Syntax, reading the situation, has decided, you know what, it's a little bit early for us to play in this position. It's a little bit too hot right now with this many teams in the area. We're going to go ahead and find a new position to put down. So that's going to give the high ground to the Panthers, which they absolutely love. A little bit of damage connection there on the DP-28, but most of this is really just superficial at this point. The point the Panthers are really hoping to have is just that high ground dominant position.
Yeah, hopefully for the Panthers, I know we have the map stream, but Buho's Gaming going to be pulling in from Trailer Park here very shortly. So the Panthers giving away a lot of intel with those shots on top of M249. remember, they're up there on top of that hill, so they're in the open, exposed to the backside right there. So hopefully they'll be aware of that, as it looks like STX were able to pull off.
Oh man, Angry Boy. I get so excited now when I see his name because he just had so many amazing moments in yesterday's games. I'm really looking forward to when he can get some of those close range fights. We've been seeing quite a lot of city finishes or even some of those early mid-game city fights for a lot of teams throughout these circles. That said, though, everybody is about as close as they can be right now before challenging. We're in the end of phase 3 as the blue's starting to close. As we move forward, phase 4 and beyond, this is when people are really going to have to start picking a spot and fighting for it. We're going to start looking for those crashes, seeing if any of those are successful, see if we can maybe even get a couple conversions on these rotations. But right there, again, another play there by Brujos. Try to get a little bit too close to Singularities and the Americas compounds. They're going to get pushed off this position as well.
Nice. Hey, Aaron out here with a nice shot out there at the distance. And Buho's kind of getting separated, caught in between 4 different squads. Same with STX. They did pull off. And when we saw STX, I noticed one of their players had a green flare in the pocket ready to utilize. I'm not sure if it was Koba. And look at this, Koba, the one-man army, gonna have to defend right here up against the big pickles.
Oh, Doodle Bob's got such a great angle. Koba was distracted. He was focusing on the rest of that team, trying to stay up alive, but you can see every angle right now the big pickle has on this. Koba with nowhere to go is gonna get taken down, and it's not long before the flush happens here. Big Pickle have their big foot right now into compound, but this is just on the edge of zone. There's still so much more movement that they're going to have to go forward. And talking about movement, we were worried where Buhos was going to end up. Every time they tried to challenge a compound, they were met, unfortunately, with a lot of fire. And so as we can see, they are joined here by Violent by Nature in the Center City. Swanson's been the center of zone since the beginning. As we wait to see where the blue closes, we'll know whether or not they're about to have a whole lot more neighbors.
Just crawling. And Jedi is the only player still alive from STX. Remember, Jedi popped that deployable shield because they're getting shot from the Panthers from the hilltops to the north, and also held down from M249 in that compound. So Jedi is just stuck like Chuck, and good luck. Good luck surviving. And I'm curious, I know you talked about the big pickles, but you didn't say who Kneecaps was. Is Kneecaps, is that Winsanity? Maybe? I mean, leaks. I don't. Hey,
potentially. Do you think, does Winsanity seem like the guy who might go out busting Kneecaps? Like, could that be?
Yes,
the name
I think
here?
so.
I mean, I know there's been a lot of smack talk between him and Noah. I know that they're trying to see who's going to be the better influencer team, and that's not even, Surfin just announced his team yesterday, so really waiting to see what's going to happen. But we're not going to have to wait to see is this M249 crash straight to the remaining players of Buhos, also trying to take in a corner of the city here. Sleep will get down to 15 HP. We can see they did take quite a bit of damage. They did find one knock in this, but Martin and White still in a position to keep pressure on M249. You can see, though, Martin, a little bit out on an island, is going to fall here. Great use of nades by M249 to take one more player out of it. It's just up to White to keep the dream alive for his team in this city, but he's also not the only team here, as we can see the punishment coming out now as well onto Violent by Nature, who also have 2 players down.
M249 just taking the fight with everybody, and M249 already practicing different strats here because they had KittyCat in the front line. Normally KittyCat is that sniper holding down the back line. So M249 game number 1 already flexing their muscles. I love to see it.
I think it was even you who brought up yesterday that one of the big successes that M249 has had is that they dedicate one person to sniper, and then the rest of the team really focus on the remaining aggro. And so to see KitKat already with that M24 out, you can see that's going to be giving that information for everything else that's in the area. You can see right now he's spotted out Jedi. He's trying to see where the rest of Violent by Nature are, what buildings may or may not be occupied, because going forward as the circle will continue to inevitably shift away from these compounds, that's also going to give M249 that information to have a more successful rotation away from these enemy players.
2 taps to the dome and you're done with that M24. And I just want to point out, Jedi from STX still alive, still surviving out there. The drone cred's probably not the best, and ahead of Jedi is just an open field with some flowers in there, so you're not going to find any creds over there. So this is going to be a real test to
Mhm.
STX and Jedi in particular, on just surviving, right? Trying to survive for placement points and definitely testing their skills and knowledge of the map terrain, right? So we'll have to
Yeah.
pay close attention to Jedi here.
I mean, if there was ever a person to find a way to be sneaky or really undercut somebody, my thoughts were really there with Syntax Jedi. Because he just manages to always pull off the unexpected and the unexpected. Now, lying low also will allot them that opportunity to kind of be forgotten about, right, Dave? Like, if he hasn't shot out in a while, everybody just assumes he's gone or might not be there. If the rest of the fights that we are anticipating to happen down to the south, that also gives him an opportunity, distraction to make his way into zone and not be spotted. Because as you pointed out, those fields, that's a big open area. There's not really a lot of places to hide. The boulder he's in right now, it's good, but it is not in safety. And so now as the Blues closing in, that is going to usher him off the boulder, but he's coming in slowly. He's trying not to get spotted by anybody else who might be watching the edge right now.
Yeah, and the Panthers were the team that were keeping them pinned down, right? And the Panthers still going to be up there to the north. So I have to assume if the Panthers are just keeping track, keeping tabs of that east side, they're still aware that there might be at least one enemy over here. As I say that, the Panthers already in vehicles with the proactive rotate, and the next zone goes up, and they're right there on the edge once again.
I mean, I like this. Is still a play for points by Jedi, right? Even if he can't find some kills, placement points are up on the grab for right now. But this play right now, Team America's trying to keep a defensive push away from the Panthers who just driven to the compound. They did manage to knock down one. Legal is going to be spotted. You can see Malkin right now trying to find another angle, but also trying to survive the bombardment of nades. Aaron's got another one ready to be thrown, but Malcolm is trying to see if he can spot that high ground, get that remaining information on America's players. Singularity taken down, Angry taken down. They're getting a little bit of help elsewhere too. FAU-G getting spotted.
Ooh, you gotta watch peek in that window. Aaron, underhand grenade right there. Oh, postmortem grenade will be chunking down one enemy, but doesn't look like they're able to defend that compound. And the Panthers with the pull-up, the Panthers, they were on the edge, and they had a little metal box that they were working with their vehicles, so they definitely could have played edge strat right now. But they recognized they had enemies, opponents ahead of them, and they took this fight. They took this fight. They wanted that fight, and that was a nice pull-up. 3 elims. They have enough credits to get a green flare, and they have a nice spot in this next zone.
Oh, and not a nice spot, though. White, you can see the nade is out. He knows Jedi's close. The Vector was in play. Excuse me, the ump, and now Smoke's out. He's going to try to see if he can get a buggy or some kind of transportation to drive into the zone. And there he goes. Managed to get the car in gear. He's got to get it going and drive away. The question now goes, Dave, where does he go? You've got so many other teams in the area. Pure Love, down to the south. M249, not too far from him. So no matter where White does reposition, he still has to worry about other teams in the area. Cinders, along with Jedi, are instead opting to go wide to the west, but they're taking quite a bit of blue damage, trying to avoid the line of sight of Pure Love. That was team number 4 just to the east of them.
Yeah, White's down, by the way. They went down over there in the blue. So that vehicle also electric. So the blue zone drains that battery, and to make matters worse, it was missing a tire. So GG's.
Ooh, who else might be also missing a tire? All those vehicles that Cinder is taking shots into. He is going to ultimately fall here, but not before helping out his teammate just a bit. Pure Cross lying low. It's like giving a little bit of smoke recovery. Might get some reses off for Pure Love. They've got all of the south themselves. The problem now, Dave, we have centered up on the crossroads. That is so much open terrain. You've got a little bit of the tower there, and the edge. M249 waits no time sending one player to take that position. So that's going to spell trouble for Pure Love. And you can see off to the west as well. You've got Big Pickle. And are getting themselves in a bit of a pickle as they don't have a spot to go in the zone yet. And again, our Syntax boy, he's still alive. He's still keeping his head down low, but I've got to wonder how much longer he can keep this up, Dave.
Yeah, this is only 2 M249 members in this guard tower right ahead of Pure Love, because Sleep is playing that off angle, and Sleep might actually get taken out from Jedi, who's currently crawling in the fields, the flower fields. Not even going to have an idea that Jedi's back here, by the way. So M249 got to be mindful of their surroundings right now. But Pure Love, I'm looking at their rotate. I know they wanted to practice their team comms in high stress situations, and I have to say, this is one of them.
Oh, definitely right now as Pure Love sends it. They read that Sleep was potentially alone for this too, driving right by Pure Cross, hanging back just a little bit, but not able to trade out any damage. Sleep purely connecting there onto Pure Love. Not one, not two, but three members now have been taken down. Sleep making sure to secure those kills, not letting them get stolen. Oh, couple will go to the Panthers in this. And as we're saying that, Pickle now using this as an opportunity to rotate through it. Again, Jedi, he's still creeping onto Sleep here, who is managing to recover. We can see the heals popping off right there, but Jedi chose not to engage in this whole action here. And oh, Rick. Oh. You got to give credit for trying, Dave.
And you know who's really capitalizing on all this mayhem? The Panthers. They got a vehicle explosion up there to the north as well. 9 elims so far. Jedi rocking their favorite weapon here in New State. The MP5K crawling up. I don't believe they're going to be able to out-crawl the blue zone. Wonder if they're going to pop up and take some shots at Sleep. I do see Sleep is now down, bleeding.
Jedi has got an opportunity to question there too. Does he go to take the point away from Sleep or continue to crawl back in? We're down to 3 teams, 8 players alive. M249, Jason, and Cairo, the only ones still up and standing. Sleep all on his own. The likelihood of a res is slim, but Cairo's still gonna try and go for it. Jedi, it's now or never. You've got to act. You've got to engage. Stop them from staying too strong. Dave, I don't know if he can see him above the cotton flowers right now. And right as he stands at the MP5K, and he is gonna find 1, finds 2, cleans it up. That's 2 more points for Syntax. A Jedi has given away his position. Panthers looking in this area. And the remaining members of M249, Jason, is trying to just stay alive as he pops that heal off.
Too good right there. Shout out to Jedi for clutching it out. They've been a solo player for the majority of this game. 2 elim points now popping out in the open field with the Scar. Gotta be spotted, but the fact that they got 3rd place, that's impressive in its own right.
There we go. And 5 players left alive. You can see it as Jason, who's taking quite a lot of blue zone damage, and he's just going to go ahead and give that one to the zone. So the very first winner chicken dinner of the day is going to go to none other than Team Panthers. 10 eliminations, Dave. And although 2 knocks, they did manage to keep all 4 alive until the end.
Yeah, the Panthers playing that game slow and steady when we're looking at teams just hovering around the edge. Definitely playing those zones to perfection. And then they recognized there was a super strong compound. They crashed it, they took it, and they defended it that whole game. There was multiple squads that attempted to push that compound after they took it, and they got more elim points. A couple vehicle explosions waiting to the very end to pop out, using their numbers to their advantage. First winner chicken dinner here of the Night Clover.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Obviously, no surprise to see M249 laid up in the game. Syntax, another team that we all talked about being that potential, it's the resourcefulness, right? The survivability, as you called it there, for Jedi to stay low, stay on the western side, stay out of sight. And there were so many opportunities for him to have engaged or acted in Sleep, but actually waiting until another member came out to try and get that res, that gave him 2-point conversion for that play. So really smart calling there for Syntax. But ultimately as well, we've got 5 more matches to go. This is just the first one. As much as I want to sit here and say, oh, it's so good to see Panthers, it's so good to see M249, we know that there's still so many potential shakeups, going forward for the rest of the matches today.
Yeah, Jedi, STX, no green flare, no problem. Just crawl, survive, give Jedi the MP5K, and that's guaranteed placement points. That's guaranteed elim points, and that's exactly what you want to see here tonight when teams are pretty much preparing for the biggest battle ahead of them, the grand finals of North America coming up next week. So shout out to Jedi right there. MVP of that game for sure, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Well, we will get the opinions of the analyst desk when we come back, but we're going to go to a very short break. We'll be up with more New State.
It would not be the end of a game if it wasn't the Panthers and M249 facing off. But the Panthers are on the prowl as they hunt down the M249 player, or almost do, as they've got the wherewithal to deny that last point. Now that's an interesting one, Cameron, because this is $3,000, but the grand final's just around the corner. And we have seen a lot of events and situations where 1 point is difference between winning, like literally tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and so it's really weird, and I don't know, maybe it's because point denial has been on my mind recently on like where it's appropriate, when it's who does it right and everything. But I think M249 denying that point on the very opening game really does say a lot about how these teams are approaching this series, because when you argue that this series could just be practice for the grand finals, then you would think that that final M249 player would say, you know what, let's go for it. Let's see what happens. Let me like get my thumbs all warmed up and everything. But the fact that they denied, like they are aware that they are practicing protocols for what's going to happen in the grand final.
I love that point denial's on your mind during your off hours. Like, I'll bet you're the kind of person who like gets a match and you open it with like, what are your thoughts on point denial? Let's see how this works out. But as we think about that, because I live in a world now where I'm thinking about that would be hilarious. Let's look back at the last game in a segment that we like to call Replay.
Replay segment, replay package, highlights, whatever you want to call it. This was, listen, this was actually a very, very fun game. Even though there were a couple of hardships in the opening circles, we saw a number of different crashes, some successful, some unsuccessful. And M249 and Panthers aside, all these teams are really approaching this game very, very well. You never know. You can never really tell what sort of mindset these teams are going to have. But come on, Sleep on this side angle. M249 positioned themselves across this road in a very, very strong way. Sleep was able to get so much damage here.
He's just good. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just like you can't sleep on M249, but Sleep on M249 has got to be one of my favorite players to watch, because this guy, he makes these huge plays. But then you saw STX Jedi step in and take over at the end there, and that's another player, Cameron, who I keep seeing step up and make these big moments, these big moves. Here's the standings: 20 points for the Panthers, M249 fan club 13, Pickle, Syntax, everybody else is kind of trying to keep up. I'll ask you this. A couple nights ago, Poro was here with Mustache Dave, and they were broadcasting. And Poro picked Panthers, and Dave picked M249. And it literally, we spent the entire night watching sort of Poro versus Dave as these two teams just went uncontested almost the entire evening. You've seen one game. There's 5 more to play. Do you already feel like it's a 2-horse race, or am I just being dark, depressing, and you know?
It's leaning that way. Like, you're right to recognize that it's only been 1 game sample size so far, but that's assuming that we haven't been watching the past about to be 3 whole weeks of play. Like, there are definitely going to be a couple of other names in the mix when we talk about the top dogs, the expected winners next weekend. But Panthers and M249, there's a high likelihood that when we find that, at least when I finally make that list and I like tier those teams up, that there's gonna be a little bit of a gap between them and everyone else.
You guys came back and got me wiping my nose. Let's bring in our teammates. It is gonna be Mustache Dave and Clover, Diamond Dave, Farmer Dave. He's got all the nicknames. We need more for everybody else here. And Clover, great job on the last game. Let's get into the questions. Diamond Dave, our highest ranking member of the panel. I want you all to know he was platinum. He went diamond just because he thought it would sound better when we sat here, and I respect you for that. What's your take on game 1? Is there any team besides M249 and Panthers, or is it just these two?
You left out the fact that I ranked up for you as well, because I wanted you to call me Diamond Dave. But to answer your question, I think STX definitely stand out to me. They're the only team, in my opinion, that are really utilizing these drone credits when building defenses. They're the only team every single match, early game, they already have those deployable shields ready to go. So I've been really impressed with STX here.
Nice, rock on. Clover, anybody else? Is it just Syntax? Is it those 3? Is there a 4th?
I mean, I agree with Syntax. That was a bad game for them. You know, they did not play well. They down to just Jedi, no kills on the board, and Jedi then converted his entire play style to how can he use the remaining resources to stay up and alive, and then very patiently again waiting till the right moment. there was always the opportunity to get that kill on Sleep, but waiting for a player to come in and get the revive on Sleep then gave him those 2 kills. So not the best performance from Syntax, but the mindset that they're taking into this game is in the right place. So I just want to see now if they can have a more successful play this next match.
Well, let's grant that wish. It's time right now to see if they can be more successful. Game number 2 about to get underway. Good luck, you two. We're going to get on out of here.
There you go. I'm so every time I just want to watch Toffees fly away. I tried to fly in this time, but I don't think it was nearly as graceful. Dave, we got to get our practice in on this.
Yeah, we need practice. See, I just did it right there, but they did a different swipe. Oh, man. We can't get the practice in. You know, the teams are practicing today. Let us practice. Let's practice. And talk about practicing. Well, this zone is going to be a nice one to practice on. A lot of nice water, kind of dividing up the 3 different corners, I'm going to call it, of circle number 1 here, Clover.
Yeah. I feel like we saw a circle like this yesterday, even when we had Group B, where it was divided. It did ultimately pull back towards Mall, but you know, there's still that opportunity. Or you could hard shift down to the south, still have water into play. City Hall be a factor. Or it could go Sunbury, Alamo. But what we do know to start right now, M249, Violent by Nature. 2 very aggro teams now finding themselves in a hot drop, playing for center position here on the map. I don't foresee either one of these teams necessarily pulling away to start, at least until they get an idea of who the other is. We should at least expect some kind of knock here from one of these teams.
Yeah, very interesting drop from, at least in my opinion, Violent by Nature over here. M249 is a team that I would want to steer far away from. I do like Honor's position, though, with that Bison on that off angle. So if any of the M249 squad mates decide to cross that road and get aggressive, Honor has a nice little angle over there on that road.
Yeah, and Kit Kat as well. Not yet with the sniper. We still see him with the AKM, but that's not to say, I mean, close range, your city, you want those auto fires, you want the submachine guns, you want the shotguns, you want anything that's going to give you that advantage at close range. You can see right there, Jedi is connecting with the Scar L. There's a couple of members of M249 crossing the gap between the buildings there. Jason still left behind, but you can see right now, M249's play is not to get out of the city just yet, but instead to get a stronger position against Violent by Nature. And Cairo also holding a bit of an angle here on some members of the Panthers. But again, Sleep, we talk about these angles he finds, these positions he plays. That roofline dominance is going to come in so clutch here for a city play.
Yeah, and no knocks yet. So either team, they're not fully aware on who they're versing, if that even matters at this point. You just know there's a team right in front of you. And Jedi going to be cooking a grenade, looking for a long toss, looking towards Kitty Cat. It did land on Kitty Cat's roof, but fortunate for her, she's inside the second story. But we were talking about Sleep's rooftop. We were talking about Jason's rooftop. I love that they're already up here.
Yeah, Jason too spotted out with no honor. It's going to connect a little bit of that damage, but nothing too significant with no honor. Still 80 plus HP, and you can see Sleep already repositioning at the Vector M4 combo right now, waiting to see who can spot it. He might actually hear with no honor, especially if that information was called out by the rest of their teammates. And you can see good use 6x scope now. So the tools, they're starting to mount as the loot is really coming in through. But again, I mean, neither team's going to be able to really relax in this situation. And I don't even expect, even if the teams do decide to break away from this fight, we won't see that happen until the next circle pops. Because I don't want to focus those resources just yet on a rotation if they don't even know where that rotation needs to go.
Yeah, unfortunate for both teams, there's no other squad near them to potentially third party them, and they are within circle number 1, so they're also not going to have that pressure of playing outside of the next circle shift here. So they can pump the brakes on both sides a little bit, but on the downside here, it's taken away a lot of their looting time, right? So regardless of who wins, I'm looking at Pure Love on the east side, who no issue. They're going to come into this zone looted, geared out, meds, armor, bullets. Meanwhile, the two teams that are hot dropping each other, they're going to be low on all those resources.
You know who's not low on resources? Last game, Malkin, we guys just saw it there. First in damage for the game for Team Panthers. Doodle Pop, third in damage. I think it's 623 last game. So these are some of the players that really put in effort and resources the previous match. We can see for teams here on the western side, there's nobody else in their immediate vicinity. But I mean, you talk about the East, Pure Love. They were kind of in the mix of so many different fights that first match, and so to beat a potential to pop off on these two edge teams, they've been looking in that area. King came in a little bit close, I think, hearing all the fighting going on, called out to the rest of the Pure Love and said, hey guys, there is an engagement here. We know there's two teams. But they're just staying a little bit ahead of the blue, right? They're waiting to see what they could potentially pick off this, deciding if they want a third party. But with no names in the kill feed just yet, that is a reason we're seeing Pure Love hold off right now, because they don't want to come in a 4v8 situation, especially not really knowing yet where the safer areas to put down in this city, or even rotate around the city. As you can see them start to take some of that blue zone damage, but they've got vehicles they are ready to traverse.
Yeah, they don't want to go into this 4v8 like you mentioned, but they're also looking to get involved early, at least talking to Cross. They're looking to practice here today in those high-stress situations. And with King most likely hearing some gunshots out there in the distance, like you mentioned, that intel getting relayed to the teammates, and I do see a couple of them piling into vehicles. So both Violent by Nature and M249, they need to clean this fight up quickly, in my opinion, because Pure Love on the outskirts, with that mindset of early game fighting here tonight, they might just roll up here and wipe out both of these squads.
And I'm really amazed at the patience that both of these teams are taking, right? They're not going through unnecessary risks. They're not rushing in with the W key, so to speak, to just try and find a knock without really a plan here, right? They're making sure that they still have control on their part of the city. You can see Sleep now is actually going to send it wide to try and see if he can get an angle somewhere. And that's what we constantly see from N249, right? Everybody has a little bit of a role. Sleeps is always to scout out that information, play anchor, play a different angle, and see not only what he can call out to his teammates, but what he can accomplish from that position. And this building right here, especially with the upstairs, I mean, that could be such a huge resource for M249 in this fight, especially if Pure Love decide to put down in this area.
Yeah, and resource-wise, already has that red flare, and Cairo does have the custom kit M16, so that thing is fully automatic, and the recoil is a laser, so I would not want to cross their pathway. And we're about to have the next circle pop here very shortly. We do see Pure Love rotating down there in the south. I'm looking for them to get a little aggressive here, but we got the expert, Cameron Davis, here to lay it down.
Yeah, Cameron, what do you see? What's the eyes in the sky?
Yeah, listen, guys. From the very first opening phase, we knew that this river was going to be a really big, impactful part of this, right? And even though there's a huge chunk of it that's been, I guess, removed of it, there's still going to be a lot of impact, because all these teams over here on the left side are going to have to cross the river. There's only one bridge. Fortunately, there was no one camping that just yet, but who's to say that one of these teams isn't going to take their own opportunity to just try and take control of this very rough transitional space. What you also have to manage is, again, a lot of wide open spots here, especially this little area, dead center. So seeing how teams traverse all of this, there seems to be a race going on already to grab central positioning, though. So I'm going to give it back to you guys as we see that unfold.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Cam. And, I've got to say, that might be the prettiest drawing on the map yet that anybody has done for us. And again, that river, as you can see, is a factor. No team really wanted messing with it. Everybody crossing over. Pure still looking in the direction of the fighting that's happening over the east there with Violent by Nature and M249. The problem is now they've got to break up their attention and focus on everybody else around them in the area. You've got Americas that just rotated in behind them. Beyond that is Syntax. Up to the north, you've got Buhos and the Big Pickle. And so it is just so crowded. As Karen pointed out, a lot of that open terrain.
And the only team, and we kind of talked about here a little bit. Oh, might have to get back to that, because Pure Love getting some nice shots onto Buhos Gaming on the rotate. Game number one, Buhos Gaming having a very difficult time around that mid game, looking to center up. They lost about 2 or 3 squad mates in the process, and looking at this match, almost the same story could be said. They're all just scattered, kind of on their solo mission right now, at least what it looks like, and just trying to survive and meet up at that marker.
Yeah, and two, I mean, I think Buhos had the right idea here. There was getting a little bit too hot in the center. There wasn't a lot of ways to protect every angle, especially when you've got a lot of different teams in the area. So sending it down to the south, allow them to kind of relax their backside a little bit. They don't have to worry about anybody coming in at every angle. They can just focus on what's ahead of them. And at least for right now, that is the Team Americas. Pure Cross, as we were seeing here with the rest of Pure Love. I mean, the high-stress situations, this is definitely it. They did take that time getting that information, that intel from the eastern sides. Now they've got one of the, I would say, highest priority compounds for how this late game could potentially play out. There is a lot of open terrain. There's not a lot of good coverage. This compound here just off center is probably one of the best places that you could hope for the late game. So Pure Cross really going to have to play on the defense remaining for that. Just across the river as well, Syntax managed to find themselves a sniper tower. They are taking some long-range shots from the Panthers, but it is still a safe position for them now, though you can hear they are losing some tires.
The 8 times, the custom kit, the increased damage right now, and also notice Jedi with the Bob Barker just popping those tires, and that's going to be the Panthers stuck, in my opinion, on that west side. There is that water in play, and that water does slow you down. So we'll pay close attention to that, because M249, I noticed on the map, they had a scout drone. It looks like they used the scout drone and at least pinpointed where one of the team members from Violent by Nature were, threw a grenade, and that's going to probably open this fight up here about time, Clover.
Yeah, and you can see it. They're really not in the zone. Just a very edge of Cornwall has a handful of structures that are in the next circle. And with a member now missing as Violent by Nature, he missed that fight a little bit. That's the information that M249 needed to know who was here. For Violent by Nature to also realize that this has been M249 they've been in a standoff with this whole time. And you can see Cinders thinking of an exit strategy, but he's still really focused on Sleep and Cairo across the street, seeing what damage he can do. But it's actually Jason with the mini there is going to connect, and that's going to break Cinders off away from that fight again just for a little bit longer, because he's got to focus on healing. And so Peel and with no honor, we're kind of still broken apart from Cinder. I just don't see a situation now where Violent by Nature can get away from this fight unless they can take out M249.
Yeah, Jason has the MG3 as well. So the mini / MG3 combo. Cinder's trying to land some of these custom AKM shots over there. The suppressor, we can hear it ringing on out. But now the pressure as M249 are in the blue, but they're not looking to fold anytime soon. Sleep is keeping the attention of Cinders, keeping the attention of Honor and Peel, while the other teammates of M249 are looking to get a nice little rotate.
Yeah, we can see here. Once again, Sleep playing those crazy angles. Did spot one. The pistol was out, though, trying to switch back to the Vector. Didn't quite have it ready to fight just yet. Peel down to half health. But as you can see, members now of M249 struggling to recover, just as Jason getting knocked there by Cinders. Cairo spotting with no honor. Didn't quite get the full connection there on the knockdown, but I mean, this is going to be chaotic for both teams involved. Cinders almost getting a second knock there. It's going to take players down low. Good pre-fire from Sleep, expecting him to come through the door, but right on the reload catches him off guard. Cinders taken out, and Sleep might be able to get the res with no honor. Staying in the blue, I think might finally try and break away from this. So both teams down to one player apiece, but you can see M249 right now trying to see if they can get those reses off with no honor. He hasn't broken away yet, though. He's living up to the name, Dave.
Got the DSR. Oh, confirming that one. Thank you very much. Honor, 38 health left, not slowing down anytime soon. Gonna be actually pushing back towards M249, who are in the blue, taking a little bit of damage, as we see right there. Jason finally getting taken out as well. But M249 still with the numbers advantage. They still have that duo. And if we look at the drone credits here, only 500. So Honor does not have enough credits to call in a drone to get that green flare as they're on the run.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the credits that were shared between Violent by Nature were held by other members, and with no honor, we saw holding that angle just hasn't been in a position to get anywhere near any of those bodies, pick up any loot. He's just kind of been stuck with the resources that he's had throughout this fight, and those resources are starting to dwindle a little bit. He's got plenty of ammo for the Vector, but beyond that, not too much. We can see him right now just checking every door that he can, and talking about resources here. Gosh, what an insane rotation. He just drives right through the center. He was scouting out of position to see where the rest of his team could put down. Got a little bit too close there to the big pickle, but he is going to be able to come out of that fight safely and call that information to the rest of the team who are in the zone, but we can see here just barely they're on the edge on the eastern side.
Yeah, zooming right by right there, zooming right by. And we got a live update from Luke, the statistician. Sleep has dealt 625 damage as of right now from M249. So that was a pretty big fight. And it looks like Honor was able to pull off, ejected down there to the south. M249, I have to assume, have enough credits to at least get a call back on at least one of the team members in the blue. So we'll keep tabs on them, as now it's up to pure love to gatekeep those two teams, or at least who's surviving after that fight from the corner wall.
Yeah, and too, the other issue really is depending on what happens here, right? Pure Love has been watching everything that's been happening to the east. We saw them sit and read that fight for a long time. They broke away down to the south. Now, as they've been that opportunity to potentially gatekeep with no honor for Violent by Nature and the remaining members of M249, they're in that position both in resources, manpower, but also that map presence to do something about it. We did see, again, that they did send Cross up to the north, try to get a better position. Wasn't quite meant to be. So they're going to have to really hold on to this edge style of play for just a little bit longer, at least until they can find an opening position to find another compound. And as we can see there, Groza landing just outside the Americas compound. But man, that's such an open, risky spot to go for loot, Dave. Do you take that? Do you go for that Groza?
I don't think going for it now would be the play, but keeping it in mind. This is a different one, by the way. Keeping it in mind moving forward, right? Because if we do have a circle shift out there to the west, that could be level 3 gear and some cover that they can utilize, possibly. Yeah. Possibly. So keeping it in mind, and I'm talking about the Americas. They were that team in that guard tower looking right over that. And the next zone does go right towards them. So we got 3 teams in the zone. STX, the purple team, number 5, their guard tower overlooking that bridge. If I'm the Panthers, we see they sent Legal across the water. And this is something that the Panthers do very often when we see them play near the water. They always got a 3-1 split. And most of the time, Legal is the player with the green flare. But Legal, I believe, recognizing that there's a couple enemies across the way, probably told his teammates to hold off and stay on the opposite end for as long as possible. So I'm very curious to see how they end up playing this one out, because the Panthers have found a lot of success with this strategy.
Ooh, Malkin. Malkin's just going to send it straight into the river. Syntax taking those shots. PSAD knows what to look out for. Is going to do the same. Plenty of vehicles here for Panthers. So the play is just to send it as far across the water as they can, swim the rest of the way, and then beach this fight. It's what they're going to have to do. Caveman, he's anticipating this. We can see already switching now, looking for his close range. The auto fire. Oh no. Looks like he spotted one. Paperboy. The issue, though, Caveman completely forgot about the fact that one other player came up from the bridge. Oh, White is there to lend a hand, but not quick enough.
Yeah, and Legal playing a really big role up there already on the shorelines, the coastline, able to provide that guardian angel role, as Malcolm was able to successfully get underneath the bridge and definitely catching the attention of STX. So with all the attention on Malcolm, the revive on Peter Boy should be successful. But across the way, Buho's Gaming, that's what I'm looking at. Team number 3, they're just peppering those windows of that second-story guard tower every single time STX try to peek it to take some shots at the Panthers.
Oh, Martin should be able to have a really good angle here as the rest of Buhos can push down from underneath the bridge, and that spells trouble for Panthers, right? This already was a tough push for them to get across the water, as we see they've been punished, but now you've got all 3 of these teams breaking their attention with each other, and you called out the big pickle a moment ago. They've just rotated, set themselves in the center, so they're also in a potential to have some line of sight, especially on members of Syntax. But you can see Koba is going to connect there on Drip, find the knock. Smokes are back out. The shield is up. That's just going to give them an extra little bit of safety angle for anybody that might have eyes out from the east. And you can see the smoke wall. They're just as extra bit of cover. I mean, Buhouse really trying to pull out all the stops here. And Panthers, we're going to take another shot onto Koba. Peter Boy is going to get found back out, but the attention still has to go here to Buho's as they punish more members of Panthers in this fight.
Yeah, Buho is taking advantage too, just peeking underneath that bridge while the Panthers were fully tunnel vision onto that guard tower, that second story from STX. And look at this, next zone does go up. It doesn't favor any of these teams. So Buho is currently locked down underneath that bridge with their deployable shields. Legal with the SLR trying to take some pepper shots, but Legal is out of here, just trying to survive, looking for the reposition. Very smart move from them. And now it's up to Buhos to push out STX from that guard tower. So hopefully they have a couple grenades they can just chuck up there and get that opening knock and finish what they started.
Well, this is going on too. M249 did fall as they tried to get back into the zone, something we've been kind of watching for a while. The only team currently in the circle is the Big Pickle. So all these fights happening on the east, happening in the west, they've got to round themselves up quickly as the blue is closing in. We're in phase 6, and there's not a lot of time to hang out here. You can see Martin is actually sitting in a car owned by Syntax. So really bringing out all the stops now as Jedi and the rest of his teammates have nowhere else to go but down. Kuba jumping out of the window, but has been caught up by Legal, is going to fall here. Jay White picks up what he can, but the zone's starting to do the rest. Legal down to 1 HP, trying to see if he can find anything in a box here, and I'm not quite sure if the Americas can see him yet at this angle. And it is FAU-G spotting him out. Aaron is actually going to fall to the play zone. And now in the blink of an eye, we're down to 11 players. Still, though, I mean, the circle, this is it. This open area. This is what people have to play from, Dave, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a mess. And Legal could have went passive, could have went for that snake strat, but instead doubled back for that revenge. Got the final laugh with a couple elim points to finish it out right here. But now we're down to just 3 teams, like you mentioned. Bacon Rick gonna be underhanding this grenade, tossing it right into those smokes. That's gonna be Pure Love making the push with some deployable shields in the smokes across the way.
Doodle Dude, we can see right there, trying to use the out. Ogden, if he can get anybody down, and it really just looks like a bit of spray and pray right now into the smoke, hoping to spot out Long. He sees them behind the hay bale. Once again, reloading that AR, hoping to get some kind of knock, some kind of kill out of this. 0 elims still for the Big Pickle, even though they've been engaged in this center fight for quite some time. You can see the throwables thrown out in force, hoping to change that, but here comes the Americas, Dave.
Ooh, America is just taking the opportunity to yoink this zone away from both these teams. Now backstab the Big Pickles, trying to capitalize on this already. 2 elim points. They have a nice bowler to work with, and they built a really solid car fort wall right here.
The Angry Boy waiting to spot somebody out, but he was spotted by Doodle Bob first. Angry Boy should have a little bit of coverage here from the car, but you can see, I mean, Bacon and crew really just trying to see what he can get, find a vehicle explosion, keeping that damage, that pressure right now onto the Americas. Americas have the circle, and Bob's starting to close that gap there. FAU-G is going to get a knock onto Dude. The remaining 3 members still up for Pickle are just going to go for it. Kneecaps finds one. Singularity goes down. Doodle Bob gets the rest. That is it for the Americas, and we've got our second chicken dinner winner of the day, Dave, and it goes to the Big Pickle.
The Big Pickles, the fact that the Big Pickles right before this push were able to hold out Pure Love while being backstabbed from the Americas behind, avoiding the grenades, avoiding the bullet shots, that's impressive, right? They were, to me, they were dead to rights. They weren't making it on out of that push from Pure Love, but they did, and then they kept their numbers up towards the end and didn't slow down. They didn't hit the dirt, heal up. They didn't hide behind a boulder. They just full sent it. And remember, we talked about it in the pre-show, this is Team Sanity, Win Sanity's team. You know, there's rumors flying around that Kneecaps is Win Sanity and Win Sanity's practicing right now. I can't confirm or deny, but the Big Pickles, I'm looking forward to this team. They are showing up here this week.
Yeah, you know, sitting at center, that can be such a difficult position to play when it's so open and you've got so many teams on every angle. They played that one really well, really defensively. They were able to keep teams from coming in on that big crash. We saw, as you called out, right, America's just sending it across the street, trying to see what they could do to stay alive coming across that boulder. But the Big Pickle wasting no time. They went from a defensive play straight to offensive, and that's where we saw that chicken dinner come out well for them. So even if it is Team Win Sanity, it's great to see them show up in full force today 2 games down, though, Panthers also found those scoring chances, even though they struggled a bit. I mean, that was a little bit hard. There was a lot of teams there on that western side, Dave, but I'm so excited because you can see each and every team right now is playing to win. And this is just making me even more excited, not only to see who wins today, but to see how the grand finals shake up next weekend.
And shout out to Legal, too, from the Panthers. Instead of deciding to just go for that passive play, wrapped back around for that ultimate revenge and was actually the last one standing on that west side. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is game number 2. After the break, Cameron Davis and Toffees to break it down.
Game 2 is in the books, and if this was any indication how Team Winsanity is going to do in the grand finals, I think it is going to be a very big payday for him and the members of Pickle who do join him. My name's Tommies. I've got Cameron Davis here. He's here breaking down all of the action as we get into it. Cam, let's just jump right into the highlights. You ready?
Yeah, let's go straight on in.
Highlights!
You have a hairball?
Not anymore.
Listen, okay, we only got one of that, but Coda was landing some sick, nutty shots. I was talking about the river when I came in for my interruption segment and how much control a team could potentially get if they wanted to control that bridge. And STX did just, they did end up getting wiped in the end, but again, they're getting points every single game. But this push actually was really what got to them. Very solid push by Brujo's Gaming. It wasn't the healthiest victory for them. There was a lot of bloodshed across the board. It made any survivor sort of limp into the end game, where at this point, the Pickles were already set up. They were dead center of the circle. Oh, they got gifted circle. This was a car fort, ladies and gentlemen. This was not a compound. They had to set themselves up with what pots and pans that they had. The fact that they were able to stay alive, understand and control their angles, very well played in the late game.
Yeah, I mean, the big Pickle guys just seem to really have a feel for how the game works. I know that they came out to practice specifically because a lot of them are playing with Winsanity, and I can tell you that those guys are Call of Duty pros. Like, they play Battle Royales and shooters on mobile for a living. So I'm not surprised to see them make the most out of nothing. Panthers are 28 points, doing a great job. M249 though, this is a kind of a is this a shock to you, Cameron? I know you're the cynicist among us, so tell me the truth. Expected or unexpected?
I think it's pretty expected. Because they got caught up in a fight in a city, and it doesn't matter how good of a team you are, that's going to make it difficult to enter the late game. But the reason what about it is expected is the fact that they were able to take control of that fight. They didn't. They had a couple of licks against them. They had to call in and revive some teammates, but they pushed the other team away. The other team was, I forget who it was, but they were limping significantly more. And even though we didn't really see M249 as a major force in the final moments, right? Like, they still came out with a whole bunch of points at the end of the day, 10 eliminations, a lot of them just from a single city fight. So the fact that they were able to squeeze so many points off of what for another team could have been a disastrous situation, I think is what we come to expect from M249.
That's true. And if we've learned anything from our careers in sort of Battlegrounds or mobile or Battle Royale in general, it's that you make the most of the games you can't win, and that's how you win events. Let's get our two leaders from this event. It is our callers, our casters, Mustache Dave and Clover, to join us here so we can talk for just a second. The game's about to get started. Clover, I want to ask you about Bujos. They have qualified for the grand final. They're going the distance. I don't know crap about them. Tell me something. What have you learned?
Yeah, you know what? I think that when we look down and break down what happened there along the river, Syntax with the sniper tower, other teams in that area, Panthers as well, trying to make a cross. Bujos played that well. Not only did they focus aggression on Panthers, find quite a bit of kills and points for themselves, but they also really kept Syntax in an interesting position to not break away from. They set that up well. They had smokes. They had shields. I liked what I saw given the resources they had with that terrain. And I think that's the line of thinking you need for your team to come into a lobby like this to challenge these big heavy hitters like M249, like the big Pickle that you guys are talking about.
Dave, are towers death traps? Every time I see a team in there, it seems like maybe they win the fight, but they don't really win the ultimate battle.
I love the towers. In every single tower, there's a little locker that you might be able to get a nice little weapon, some meds, or some armor. So there's always that added bonus, and the sightlines are pretty solid. Just in that situation, they were holding out two different teams at the same time. So it was a big challenge, Toffees.
Well, I got a big challenge for the two of you. It's game number 3. It's getting underway. We're going to get out of here. Good luck. Have fun.
There you go. I'm trying different poses here. I'm not quite figured out what works yet, but we'll get it going. And Panthers once again, leading damage, leading kills right now. This is what I've been wanting to see from them. I mean, Poro was talking so huge about the Panthers, and when I finally got to see them this week, I'm like, I don't really see it. But what I realized I was seeing was them working on their weaknesses Friday, them working on their weaknesses Saturday, and now when it really matters and we're down to the money on the line for today, I mean, they're shining and they're showing what they can pull off in a lobby like this, which again only has me so much more excited for the grand finals because we've got so many huge teams that are playing for the wins today. And I don't know. I mean, what do you like about about any of these teams, Dave? Any of them stand out? Is it the Panthers? Is it M249 still? Where's your fan club line?
Oh yeah, definitely M249 all day. I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to take that one back, at least this season, because I've been talking about them for a while now, at least 3 weeks. So I'm not really worried about their performance so far. It looks like this game they're gonna be able to drop the haul. They got it all to themselves, so they're gonna be exiting the early game just looted out of their minds. But talk about teams that I am worried about. Boo-Ho's Gaming, we're complimenting them here last match. It looks like the Big Pickle is going to be sandwiched right between both Boo-Ho's Gaming and the Americas with a little sprinkle of sad from the Panthers. So there's a lot of players, let's just say, up here on the edge, on the coastline up here to the north.
Yeah, sad was a little bit late on the drop there. We saw him just last second try to get himself back on the map. Unfortunately for that, as you say, it put him right in the middle of this kind of potential big fight. Right now, I mean, Boo-Ho's, Americas, I could foresee them rotating away, right? I don't really see them looking for that super early game engagement. The problem, I think, is that a team that I could see in an early game engagement, at least right now, is the Big Pickle. And that's a team that's shucking up, placed in the middle, right? It's a pickle sandwich, I guess, if you will. And you know, I'm trying my best. But Toffee's brought all the pickle puns out yesterday. I feel like there's not many left, but I'm gonna grab what I can here. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of grocery shopping in this pun department.
Pickles on a sandwich, I think, is the call. That's a must. That is a must. And I agree with you, because the Big Pickles yesterday, they're a team that I noticed they like to get some early game loot, and almost immediately they send it. And that's exactly what they're doing here. They got some scars, they got the V-Ron, they're cruising around the place. Doodle Dude over here with the AKM. Looks like they did spot out Sad, and Sad is trying to leave the area in the Volta, but they're going right towards the Americas, right over this hill.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, right? Sad knows exactly where his teammates. He's beelining for them directly. But as you pointed out, you've got Singularity and another member of the Americas, Angry Boy, right in front of him. So if you're Sad, you've got to make sure you clear wide of these compounds. You know, at some point, you have to wonder, there's got to be someone nearby. Maybe even potentially the Panthers saw these parachutes, but oh, look at that. The M249 there, Singularity at close range, but just a little too late to set up. He tried to get that high ground, a few shots out, but none of it connecting into Sad. So I think at this point we can safely say he should be able to rejoin his teammates pretty comfortably. And Sad still needs that time to loot. He really used all of this as a moment to just get back to his teammates after that unfortunate late drop.
Sending it to the trailer park too. And Sad is going to be rolling up here like, hey, listen, fellas, I got the intel. I know where at least 3 teams are after that rotate, and probably going to be marking it on the map. So that is the bright side of Sad dropping all the way up there on the edge by themselves, still alive. So everything ended up working out after all. The thing is, though, this was the thing. The Big Pickles were chasing Sad, and they are working their way right into the Americas. The Big Pickles, too thirsty.
Doodle Bob, Doodle Dude, nowhere to be found. They were still off looting in another position. So it's really Bacon Rick right now is trying to keep everything alive. As you can see, the rest of the members of Americas cascading down the mountainside, looking to see if they can spot an angle here on Bacon Rick, but he's found himself a nice little groove on the rock. FAU-G taking the rooftop, the top part of this, seeing if he can spot him in between the crevices. Hasn't seen anything just yet, but it's only a matter of time. And a 4v1, Americas feel pretty confident about this push. Even if Bacon Rick manages to knock down one, they know they should be able to clear this out. Of course, as I say that, the Doodle Dude and the Doodle Bob are here to help out Bacon Rick. So you know he's got to be having a little bit of a sigh of relief now as you see the bullets starting to put that pressure here onto Americas. Unfortunately, though, for Angry Boy, Singularity has been knocked down, but Bacon Rick as well. So a trade now between both these teams.
Doodle Dude pulling up. The custom AKM already sees Aaron, little peek right there, underhanding the grenade. Gonna be cooking that one to perfection, tossing it right over the mark. And Bob from behind just letting their vehicle roll right into the Americas. The perfect distraction for Doodle Dude to just pop their head up and get a nice little trade right there. So now it's a 2v2.
Oh, there. That's a good use of the flashbang as well. You can see Doodle Bob wasting no time to take that push there to Angry Boy. Falky's already recovered, but another knock is out. There's just one member of America still standing. Falky is going to connect it to Doodle Bob, finds the knock to Doodle Dude, gets Doodle Bob. Bacon Rick has been flushed out as well, and all looked like it was lost for the Americas here, but they were able to recover. Falky now working on that res, and he should have time enough to get everybody else up and standing. So the Big Pickle are unfortunately going to go out first this match. And Dave, I feel like we see that sometimes. The team comes off a win and then suddenly struggles the next game.
Yeah, I do like how the Big Pickles, and they did the same thing last game, where when they pull up, they auto their vehicle and pop out at a speed that they take a little bit of damage, but the vehicle keeps rolling. And what that does is it gets the attention of the enemies, and it's worked 2 times in a row so far. So I do appreciate that strategy from the Big Pickles.
I don't know what's happening here, Dave, but we got not 1, not 2, but 3 teams crashing a single compound. Pure Love has been just driving around all of this. As they say, that violent by nature, sinking their teeth into Syntax's compound. And just to the east of that is also M249. Koba, though, connecting there onto Jedi. White has been knocked down, hasn't been flushed up, and you can see they're still with no honor in the area. Spots another peel, looked the wrong direction. That's 3 knocks down. Now for Koba, seeing if he can spot out Cinders, the last remaining player. Cinders with the pre-fire, but it didn't matter. He was spotted out by none other than M249. So there's another team out of this area. But this is the center of the zone. And talking about the zone, I think we've got Cameron here to help us out. Cameron, break us down what you see.
Clutch.
So that fight was incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
And it might not even be over, though, because the circle is continuing to stay on the sort of, I don't know where you want to call this, the suburbs of Anchorville, between them and Factory. Anyway, the center position that everyone is at, they're still staring each other down. There's a lot more hills to play here, though, so I don't know if everyone is going to be so enticed to come this way. We could easily see some teams take over this hilltop area. But the problem is, when there are this many kills to be had, who knows if anyone's going to be tempted to try and go get those extra juicy points, and I'm already seeing another team come into the mix.
So I mean, that's a really good point. And I mean, Dave, as you heard, these teams, right, they're all out for kills. M249 started this match in 3rd place, so you know that they want to make up that deficit as quick as possible. And so now taking that fight still to STX. They helped out. They saw the kill feed. They knew what was going on here. Now they're trying to see if they can take out the remaining players who seem to, for the most part, recovered from their injuries.
Yeah, and one's in the plane. Jay White is going to be dropping down right now. Hopefully not a tasty snack for M249, who are in the opposite compound prepping some grenades, but Clutch Koba across the way tossing some into the building themselves.
There you go. We can see Koba still with plenty of nades. The throwables helping keep that pressure so the push can't come from M249. That one thrown by Koba is going to land on KitKat, but Koba spotted out by Jason with the Thompson. A very quick flush there, and I'm still amazed at the amount of utility these teams still have, especially for Syntax, given the utility they had to use on the Americas already. So with M249 now coming up the stairs, Jedi had a great angle here. Get that knock, immediate flush onto Sleep. Is going to pull back, waiting for the follow-up from more members of M249. You can hear them downstairs. You can hear them running around, but I just can't get that angle confidently, especially I think you might have seen that there was not 1 but 2 players there. Jason with the nade. Jedi saw it. Is going to pull back just in time.
Yeah, after that stair camp and thirst, they're making sure to push with these grenades. As I say that, Jedi getting another one. At least a knock right there with the MP5K. And we talk about Jedi in the MP5K almost every single game. That player always utilizing that weapon. And shout out to Koba this game as well with the AKM, pull out a 1v3 clutch moment. But M249 on the outskirts taking advantage, reading the kill feed, knowing exactly who they're pushing and how many most likely are alive. So now M249 are going to be getting a nice center position with enough drone credits to probably get a green flare, call back in their 4th, and just set up for that late game.
Elsewhere, just north of Anchorville, up in the high grounds, Cam pointed out this positioning as being a place we can see teams spot up, especially using the rocks to their advantage. We're seeing exactly that here with the Americas and Panthers, that long-range shooting right there. The SKS being utilized by Peter Boy to see what damage he can do to members of the Americas. So long-range knocks, long-range shots, but at the same time, that is going to wound them. And now as they send Legal wide to try and find another angle to play from, this could be a tag team effort between members of Panthers to see if they can even challenge the Americans for the position. I mean, both of these teams are those high ground teams. You know that that's their preference. If there's a high ground, whether it's center or the edge of zone, it's what they're going to try and play for. So that said, Buhos started out a little bit busy, now a little bit soft, a little bit quiet, and they've got themselves a care package just outside their compound.
Big chillin'. That should be all theirs here in a little bit. And to touch on what you were mentioning about Anchorville, just north of it, where we see the Panthers, that's very challenging terrain to rotate through. All the different jagged hilltops and boulders up there, it does look like the Americas are going to be grouped up. But when the Panthers are rolling in late, the Americas will definitely be able to spot out any vehicle rotate through those mountain tops. And they're set up. They are set up. So even if Peter Boy gets this knock, yes, it's going to take out the helmet. Yes, it's going to take out the armor. But as far as a full send here, I don't see it happening. This terrain is just too challenging.
Now that said, the circle just about closed out here in phase 3. We have a hard shift in any direction. That could be a restructuring play here. And we might actually see Panthers break off from this. Ooh, good knock there from Aaron. Should be, or onto Aaron. Peter Boy should be able to find that flush, or to say that Aaron just barely crawls right out to safety. And I think that res might be able to come out in time there for Americas. It looks like they were able to touch him just before he bled out. Now, Dave, look at this. The circle centered itself up on this terrain. And that means that the Panthers can take this fight a little bit longer, a little bit closer if they choose to. They still got Legal up there to the north playing that opposite angle.
Yeah, Legal definitely looking to make a play. Was able to wrap all the way around and get the back angle from the Americas and their backside, and should be able to pop those vehicle tires as well. And while Legal is taking these shots, really being the distraction, we can see the Panthers slowly crawling their way up those mountain tops, those hills, those jagged edges, and getting right within grenade range onto the Americas.
Oh, with a sneaky angle there. Malcolm is going to get one. Sad finds the other. The flush is coming out. Now Panthers working together to take out what they can. But look at Angry Boy just sending it down the mountain. The problem is, set up right outside here was Buhos Gaming, and they are laying into him as he struggled to control that vehicle. He's got no choice, but just continue sending it on. Legal, meanwhile, is also going to see what he can do. I mean, Panthers have entirely focused their shift now onto Buhos with Americas out of play. They got that position from Buhos. They are where they've been working to be. And this could be more kills for them, depending on how things play out with the remaining teams in the lobby. We haven't really talked about it because they've been kind of quiet, but Pure M249, they're out to the east. They found themselves some safety, and they're really waiting to see what happens here on the mountaintop before they make more moves.
Yeah, and M249 did get their 4th player back in. And I want to point out from Buhos Nightmare, their option to get the shield on the M249 instead of the extended mag with 150 bullets. I really do appreciate that, because we see they have that level 3 helmet as well. And I think that combo is really strong when peeking windows like we saw right there, because you're just like the Terminator peeking this window. Even if you get shot, you got double armor on the M249 and the level 3 helmet. You'll have enough time to unpeak that window without getting knocked. So I just want to point out that heads up play and decision from Nightmare when we're looking at the economy and the custom kits.
I mean, I like that Terminator reference. You can just picture the thumbs up slowly, and depending if that knock happens. And I mean, Legal, we really got to give credit for him. We've talked about him a couple times tonight, but just this ability to play that angle to get that information for his teammates. You can see Buhos trying to do that with White, seeing if they could break away. The problem is driving right down the street. There's not one but 2 teams waiting. Again, M249 and Pure. And now even Legal still has eyes on this. So as Panthers are still sitting pretty, they've got 5,000 or 4,500 drone credits over to continue to spin should they feel like it. The resources are so
Oh,
high, and
That's a rock.
nightmare.
They'll get the pickup. But back to your point about the Panthers, yeah, we're getting too far into the game to have that many drone credits. Like, you just gotta spend them. And spend them on anything at this point. Spend them on deployable shields, spend them on some meds, some extra bullets, anything that can set you up. Maybe even just have a green flare, because we've seen players utilize that green flare in the late game. Yeah, they don't count on their team member safely landing, but their team member could be up there in the sky pinpointing exactly where the enemies are, and that could be crucial with the zone that we have right now, because there's so many hiding spots within these mountaintops of Anchorville.
Yeah, I mean, who needs a drone when you've got eyes in the sky for a teammate who could potentially still survive that landing and come in as that extra player? But right now, Buhos, with these crazy, risky rotations, still managing to keep up a couple alive here, as we can see. They did manage to find themselves in a really good position, as that circle is going to hard shift to the south. White, even though he's knocked and down, is actually in the zone.
Time.
So it's a good spot to be. But look at that, N249, center. That's going to be hard, because now they can play defense. They can stay locked in. And I mean, you pointed out, there was that opportunity for Panthers to really stack up on anything. Is that opportunity wasted now, as they've got to now instead focus on going back on the attack instead of the defense?
Yeah, it looks like Nightmare lost their helmets in the process of their full send from the north to the south, but they should be able to catch their breath now, as they're the only team down here, and they're pretty much going to have M249, the blockade for Buhos in the south, between them and the Panthers and Pure Love in the north.
I think my big issue right now with Pure Love is that I almost feel like they might have been a little too careful in this match. I think the play here was the setup for the long game, and the setup to maybe be in a position to third party a fight. But now, given where these circles have gone, kind of puts them in a risky transition. They're going to have to fight Panthers to get an angle to play out on top of M249. And speaking of Panthers, we're finally seeing those resources coming in for them, spending out those drone credits, which, as I say that, now they're still at 4,500 drone credits. So Panthers still with more opportunities ahead from them in the game. But what they're right now taking those opportunities on is shots towards M249. Unfortunately, Legal's going to get a little bit of punishment there. But you know what? He's still taking that effort forward. And it's what I love to see from him this game.
Yeah, and with the late game and the extra drone credits, you can even use it as kind of a mind game. You don't have to call it in for yourself, but you can call in a couple of drones with a little bit of ammunition in them, just to see maybe where the enemy might be, because the enemy might try to blow it out of the sky. So information is everything, and utilizing those drone credits to the maximum ability here is something that I'm looking forward to seeing these pro players evolve the meta as we continue to watch the scene grow.
King, look at this angle King found. It's actually behind the trees here. Buhos don't quite have the line of sight as you would fully expect. And you can see Pure still sending two. They're trying to creep as close as they can to that site, and I think ultimately deciding, no, this position over here by King is probably the best opportunity that they really have at this point to play down this angle. Unfortunately, are going to lose Cross in this as well. So Buho Drip with the DP-28 and keeping that damage as well. So the big thing that I think is helping out a lot of the teams along the edge is that they're all with eyes on M249, right? They're all got pressure on M249. We're seeing it here as Pandy from Pure Love take shots at a member. Panthers, we've been seeing her taking shots at members of M249. Sleeps pretty much just caught out in the open, although he's in the zone. I mean, Buhos could put pressure on him. You've got Panthers that could put pressure on him. So M249 do need to be a little bit careful about being stretched too thin.
Yeah, Buhos and both Pure Love are both just dead to rights, with 3 team members of M249 looking right down there in the south. The only deciding factor is if the Panthers opt to third party when they hear those shots ring out from M249. But Sleep is going to do everything in their power to make sure the Panthers don't push on top of the trio in those compounds across the road.
I love it. Sleep's got my favorite guns right now. He's got the Tommy gun and the DP-28. I think he read about the situation and realized, nah, This might not be the play here. As he sends it, though, Legal immediately backfilling that position. He watched him drive off and knew now is the safe play. Still not quite in the circle here, though. But that is going to get that information, that line of sight. And here you go. You talked about when is the time to move, when's the distraction. Pure Love with 2 knocked down. Buhos use it as an opportunity to crash that compound sleep. And the rest of M249 are entirely focused on this. This is the moment for Panthers to move. They are going to. And Martin or Buhos just free firing, see if he can spot out any members of M249, but it's not meant to be. M249 cleans house, has their compound, but this fight took so long that the Panthers are now set up.
Yeah, and at the same time, Sad just YOLO sent it with that UMP on top of the building right now. Gonna be spotted by one of the M249 squad mates as Cairo is gonna be knocked down on their knees. Looks like Jason was able to get a successful knock to maybe slow down the push, the attempt from the Panthers to get their second chicken dinner here today.
Pandy is also still alive to the south, and Pure Love in the blue. He's been healing, slowly creeping on up. So depending on how this fight goes out, it actually could be a member of Pure Love that comes out into second place. Malkin, though, is going to restructure, but not before getting spotted out by Kidda Cat there. And you can see the connections for the SMG. And I think Malkin is just going to... Oh, I thought he was going to send it to the blue, but no, he's still in the fight. He's going to reposition. We did lose that last member of Pure Love. And now Legal with Peter Boy and Malkin still set up on the high ground outside of M249's compound. The circle up to the north. M249 are going to have to cross the street and come out in the open. This is a potential here for Panthers to get another chicken dinner again. Or will we finally see M249 get their first of the night?
Yeah, it looks like Legal and Peter Boy are looking to slowly rotate up there to the north as Cairo just sent it into the zone, leaving their teammates in the back lines to get shredded. Malcone in the front line was able to finish Jason and Kidda Cat. And that zone didn't care, Clover. That zone went all the way up there to north, but I do appreciate the Panthers right here sending Sad across the road while keeping these two with their snipers in the back line, their DMRs with that spray and that support. The Panthers, this is a team, completely different team than when we saw them in week number 2. This team has grown so much in their skills and their communication. You can clearly see it here tonight. They are well prepped, in my opinion, for the grand finals here.
Yeah, I mean, they practice their high ground pushes. They practice sending players off to play different angles. They practice their rotations, and that is finally coming into form today as we see them continue to dominate this lobby. 2 wins in 3 games. They don't seem to be slowing down at all. Even when met in positions where things are really looking bad against them, they manage to constantly come back out on top. It seems like they've got a plan B, a plan C. And even as we pointed out with those drone credits, they don't even have to fully rely on those resources because they've just got so much in the bag to pull out that hat of tricks, the bag of tricks to pull out of the hat. There we go. We're getting those phrases down. But again, I mean, really exciting to see because I think that was our big concern going into today. And now that we're through the halfway point is who could take M249 off that pedestal. And I think we're finally starting to get those answers, Dave.
Yeah, and I know M249 have been grinding new state since it came out, but the Panthers have been grinding mobile battle royales for at least 3 years now too. So that experience definitely showcasing itself here today at least. And well, that's going to be that game. When we come back after the break, Cameron and Toffees with the highlights.
We're back. Game 3 is done, and the Panthers get another win. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'd go as far as to say it's gosh darn excellent. My name's Toffees. I'm joined by the Cammy D as we break down the action here today. Cameron, thank you for having a name that flows so well into the Cammy D. That was a good game. M249, again, huge representation, but man, the Panthers seem unbeatable.
Yeah, listen, M249 played that position early. They had to fight for that center compound really early on in the game. A lot of people contested it from the mid game, even towards the late game when we saw them getting crashed. But the Panthers properly played their position from that hillside, taking advantage of the fact that M249 was so focused on defending their position that they just spread out and surrounded and conquered. And so even though M249 are getting the kills, the Panthers are going to stay on top, at least in this in tonight's series, strictly because they're able to put themselves and to get the edge when it comes to placement points.
Let's go back and look at how that game went down while I try to process your accidental tongue twisters of Panthers' perfectly played positions.
I didn't even recognize that, but yeah. So there was a lot of hilltop spots to fight over for, not even just M249's compound, right? Which was a great sort of different showing, different terrain for these teams to have to work with compared to the more open area that we saw from the first 2 games.
M249 is just one of those. We kind of talked about in the green room a little bit. M249 for me is a team that hasn't really changed since the beginning of this thing. 3 weeks, 3 wins, crazy style of play. No big difference, right? The other guys that we're looking at now, the Panthers for me have evolved. They started at the bottom. Genuinely, their first week, they didn't do so good, but they kept trying new things. I think you saw they did some 2-2 splits. They're doing 1-3 scouts. They're making really smart choices, and I'm just blown away by that evolution.
Yeah, they're making choices that M249 are strategic in their own right. I really like how they consistently lean into the 2-1 splits with Sleep playing the off-angled character. But the Panthers, they're playing a lot, even more tactically focused, positionally focused. M249, if they have a chance for a fight, they're going to take it. They actually came to this compound, as we just saw a few clips ago, basically stealing this from Syntax. Jedi put up a really solid defense, but either way, M249 went for the aggressive moves. The Panthers, they more go with the flow and find, put themselves in a position to capitalize on openings that they find. And as you said at the very beginning, 2 out of 3 wins shows that has a very solid success rate for them.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at that. Panthers 45 points, M249 31, the Big Pickle 22. Bit of a discrepancy between first and third as the fall off begins. We're 3 games in. It's the halfway point. 3 more to play. It's still open options for a lot of these teams to get in, and some of them, like Violent by Nature, who only has 9 points, is a team that has qualified. Actually, let's get the casters here because I want to ask them about this. So let's bring in Clover and Mustache Dave, Diamond Dave, Farmer Dave. Talk to me about farming, because Violent by Nature, they qualified not in sort of what I want to call the free-for-all qualifies yesterday. They qualified by winning an event and doing really well. How are they at 9 points? Like, did they fall off? Like, why can't they farm more?
Well, talking to With No Honor before today's games, they told me that they wanted to work on their mental game here tonight. And one of those aspects were playing from behind. Now, I'm not saying they are doing
they're sandbagging
because of that. No, I'm not saying they're sandbagging. But the fact that they had the goal to maybe practice that, because they recognize throughout the 3 weeks that that's something that they're lacking here in preparation for the grand finals. When they do have bad performances, they easily tilt, right? So I feel like, although I'm not saying they're sandbagging, I feel like they're in a perfect position as of right now to kind of practice what they wanted to here tonight. So I'm putting that out there.
Interesting. I mean, there's a maturity, if that's the case, that they recognize that they often are playing from behind, and instead of having the hubris of most pros we talked to, which like, we're going to win this event, they know they're going to struggle and have to play catch up. I like that maturity. All right, guys, let's send it over to you two because you're the mature ones in the room. It's time for the cast. Clover, Mustache Dave, take it away. Cameron, let's get out of here.
I mean, we're definitely not the mathematicians in the room. And again, I mean, with the escapes, Toffees just has this one down. But I mean, yeah, we're at the halfway point today. There's still money on the line today. Regardless, everybody in the lobby is already going forward to the grand finals. And I mean, Dave, you bring up a good point. Everybody's still working on different things. You talked about teams focusing on high stress situations. You just brought up that Violent by Nature is working on their mental game. We know that their fragging ability is really, really good, right? They don't need to really work on that right now. But now that we're kind of flipping to the second part of the day, is there any point where you just kind of decide, all right, that's enough practice, let's just focus on winning?
I think if you're within reach of that top 4, right? Because 4th place $1,000, 3rd place $1,500, 2nd $2,000, 1st place $300. But then when we look at 5th and 6th, it's $750, and then 7th and 8th is $500. So I think if you're on that right side of the leaderboard, you can kind of just keep maintaining your play here tonight, just practicing and smoothing out those edges here. But if you're close enough to increase your money bags at the end of the night, then yeah, 1000%. Don't just maintain, just go all out. You know, just get your guns, get your gear, get your custom kits, and just roll around the place having fun. Because at the end of the night, we have to remember all these teams are going to the grand finals, and the grand finals in the grand scope of things was the bigger picture ticket item here that all these teams had on their #1 spot for goals. So they already achieved that. They're already going. So right now, let's just try to get a little more money at the end of the night and a little more practice to prepare for the grand finals.
Absolutely. I mean, you bring up a good point. It's the big ticket item. There's a lot on the line for the grand finals. We know that there is huge skill from so many of these teams, whether they've got that mobile Battlegrounds longevity or whether they're a first-time Battlegrounds mobile Battle Royale, a player, right? If this is their first real event, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot on the line, and there's a lot to grow. And we're developing the new state meta as we speak throughout this event, and we're seeing teams develop their own as we see what is successful, what doesn't, what are the ways that teams can utilize certain aspects of the game, what are the ways that maybe they can adjust that. We've talked almost ad nauseum about drone credit spendings, and I still think that there's plenty of teams that don't quite take full advantage of the way that they manage their own drone credit transactions. Now, this circle, real quick, is very similar to the last one. We've got a heavy focus of Anchorville once again in the center, trailer park and play up to the north, exhibit hall down to the south. So a lot of good opportunities to start. The issue obviously being right now that we saw for a moment there is the Americas and Big Pickle set up in the center of Anchorville. Big Pickle did see eyes on M249 as they landed as well. So should be mostly quiet, at least to start for this very first phase, with a little bit of a back and forth trading between the Americas and Big Pickle. But I think when we get that next phase pop, just knowing what we saw with the last game, I'm expecting some early and mid-game fighting again.
Yeah, and if you got those drone credits, you might as well spend it because you can't take it with you for the next game, right? You just can't. So if you got 5,000 credits, I don't know what you're doing, holding on to it. And back to the Anchorville fight, that is going to be the Big Pickles versus the Americas. Now, the Big Pickles, they did get a knock. I think Bacon Rick was able to get one knock. So they are fully aware who they're versing. Doesn't look like they're getting ultra aggressive, as that road being a nice little divide between the two squads right now.
Yeah, I mean, really down to the south, that is the Big Pickle team, more than likely, unless we take a real hard shift down. They might have to reposition themselves moving forward if we take an eastern, a western shift, not too hard, but if the circle goes anywhere to the north, that's going to spell a little bit of trouble here. So I think that's why we haven't quite seen too much crossing of the roads right now. Teams just waiting to see where that next phase goes before we fully engage in a long term, because I mean, we've seen it, right? We saw it with M249 last game. They were stuck out on the east for a very long time with Violent by Nature, and even a potential third party from Pure Love who was watching that fight for a really long time. And I believe it wasn't even until the end of phase 2 where a knock even happened out of that fight. So both of them were really trying to figure out who it was they were fighting. So that said, it looks like for right now, I think the focus here for the Big Pickle is to just kind of stay in a position to get those resources and then take the fight later on in the game. They're giving themselves some breathing room away from the Americas.
Yeah, and they're also trying to make sure that they look good, right? Because they are on Team Winsanity, and we know Winsanity's been practicing. Oh, New State for a couple months now, looking to win. Now, little side note here.
Ooh.
Oh, Angry Boy from Doodle Dude. Winsanity did ask me to be on the team, and I said I just can't. You know, I just can't. So there's a lot of expectations.
They'd be too OP, Dave. You can't let them. And we'd be talking a different story. We'd be talking about how Team Winsanity be winning an event, not in 249. You got to give. Yeah. You got to give some winning chances.
Give other people a chance. Exactly. So that additional pressure for the Pickles, you know, I can't even imagine right now. But nice little knock there onto Angry. It looks like they are kind of gathering up. Remember, the Pickles do have a vehicle, I believe a Volta, but not the strongest vehicles for Sens, because the recent patch that was done on the 17th a couple days ago, the speed and handling was nerfed a little bit. So it does look like they were able to swap that Volta up here for V-Ron. And they're looking to possibly make some moves over here after that knock.
Yeah, and there we go. I like this restructure. I like this this grabbing of the vehicle. Bauhaus just starting to move into the other side of the city. So them having this compound along a different road, it's nice. The problem is, and you can see it there just in the distance, Americas have also, as they finished looting, they went west to east, and now they're still in this area. So couple more seconds. We see 50 on the clock until we get that phase 3 pop, and we'll know exactly where the circle's going to go. But right now, I mean, this fight with Americas and the Big Pickle, it's just going to keep going a little bit slow a pace, but it looks like it's not ending. Oh, is Doodlebob just going to engage? Is he just going to take the fight straight to them here?
So I think what Doodlebob might be setting up for, and we've seen it 2 games in a row, is that when they would send it to a fight, they would have one vehicle where they put it on auto and they jump out of that vehicle, nobody in it, but the vehicle still rolls, and that catches the attention of the opponents. And that split second, those couple moments of attention of the opponents firing at that vehicle, is the perfect window of opportunity for the Big Pickles to exactly pinpoint where the enemies are. They've utilized that strat 2 times so far, and that might be what they're setting up here for again.
Well, real quick before this fight pops off, I think we've got Cameron Davis in here to tell us what he sees in this setup. Cam, what's the circle telling you right now?
Yeah, real quick is right, because I think a fight is going to break out on this hill that we're already seeing a couple of different teams try and set up on. It's the high point in this circle. It oversees so much. I think it's going to be able to get a lot of teams a lot of control. I'm going to get out of your hair, though, because I really do think this fight here is going to break off in just a couple of moments.
Yeah, I mean, Cam brings up a good point. We saw that position really play in so well for the Panthers, and I think everybody has that on their mind, right? That was a fight that they won out early on from the Americas, ultimately favoring them in terms of that chicken dinner at the end of the game. So now you've got the Americas, M249, Syntax, the Big Pickle, Bauhaus, all in this area, all within just the high grounds here of the hillside. And really, I think we're going to see a bloodbath. We're at 32 alive right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see that number drop dramatically by the end of this next phase.
Angry over here with the 4 times on the mini. Looking for Sleep over there on the opposite end. And M249 going to have a really nice overview onto STX. Looks like M249. Jason with that MG3 here, running that back here once again. I've noticed them pick up that weapon a lot here tonight. The thing is with STX is they love playing compounds. That has been one of their most successful strategies here, is just hold down a compound and just playing them zones. That's what we saw all day yesterday from them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking to just hold this one down for the majority of this game, especially with this 2-2 split, really strong. So if this compound in the front of the building does get pushed on, there's a good chance that whoever pushes are going to look to wrap around compared to where they directly push and crash their vehicle. And if that's the case, then the duo across the road has clear sight lines on those opponents looking for that wraparound. So this has been something that STX have been implementing here all week long, and it's really played in their favor.
Yeah, and that too, I mean, you talk about the things that teams are doing and implementing. We're once again seeing Sleep kind of break away from the team just a little bit, play another angle, get that information. He's just going to go ahead and take one of these vehicles that was left behind by the Big Pickle earlier. when they take that push to try and challenge Americas for this position somewhat. But I mean, you bring up a great point for STX. We did have throughout the weekends, I think, a lot more successful plays and points from them, but we also had a lot more city fights, a lot of games that ended in the city and ended in positions that they really utilized. Now, another thing we had a lot of was Jedi with the drones, and that is going to come into play clutch really well with M249 in their backyard like this. Any information that they can have, knowing even at the very least that you've got people this close to you. You can see Caveman's really been keeping an eye on the rest of the players that are up there on the rock. That could be big information that they can use moving forward. They're just outside the center of the circle for right now, but if this hard shifts to the west or to the north, then that could make rotating out of here a little bit tricky without having some kind of an engagement with M249.
Yeah, and M249 really good at calling in for green flares and red flares. That's their bread and butter when we look at drone credits. But STX, deployable shields and scout drones. That's their bread and butter. And no other team here has been utilizing the scout drones like we've seen from STX. We see Sleep looking at it, emoting, tossing out some cash money in the air. Obviously doesn't care about the drone. And I know they're joking up there on the hilltop, but that intel is being relayed right back to STX. So they, with that information, know for a fact that there's 3 opponents on the tippy top of that hill. So with that intel, they can assume that there might be an enemy on that off angle, which will allow STX to be a little more aware and cautious of their surroundings.
I mean, now the big thing, cautious surroundings, pure love all day today, right? They have been kind of just traversing the edge, taking these huge rotations, one point of the map to the other. Really good for getting that information gathering. They're working on their scouting. They've been caught out by a lot of these rotations, though. You can see this time they're choosing not to take the road, but instead go along the edge, using the hillside to their advantage. King did find a vacant compound, but beyond this position, they're going to find a lot of challenges, right? You've got Americas to the south, M249 and Syntax out to their west and north. So Pure Love just do need to be a little bit careful. They're going to send Cross across the street to keep that extra player up and handy. But Panthers, it's been quiet for them. Nobody's been in their area, really.
Look at this. They've dealt 23% of the damage in the lobby, with M249 with 20% right behind them. And I believe one of the team members from the Panthers trying to hop that ramp with the Vulture. Jumping off a little too soon. Yeah, jumping off a little too soon. And looking at M249, second most damage dealers in the lobby with a nice McLaren, that lime green paint job. They are going to see some drones out there in the distance that they might be able to blow up in the air. We haven't really seen it this week, but last week a lot of these teams were blowing those drones up in the air, and it was actually landing on their opponents and knocking them out. Although you might not get the elim points, that knockout is in the kill feed, so you will know exactly who's over there with that drone. Mm-hmm. So that's a heads up play, in my opinion, that we really haven't seen here. And talking about heads up play, Jedi with another drone scout, baby. Jedi.
If there was ever a stat that I would get, I just want to know how many drones has Jedi launched this weekend.
This week,
yeah,
yes.
Just this week, because I feel like that
10.
number's at least 20 for sure, right? It's definitely in the double digits.
Shout out to them, though. Shout out to
our
them,
stat
honestly.
guy's like, I can't.
Yeah,
but you know what? We know it's a lot.
There's going to be a scout drone MVP at the end of the season, by the way. Jedi up there at the top.
Ooh,
okay.
There you go. Good connection by Singularity. We love to see it, right? We've been waiting for some of these fights to pop off as the circle did center itself up more around Anchorville. It's almost a mirror of last game. We've got the compounds to south, though this time a little more prominently in the circle. They make up about 30%. Some more teams vying for these positions. Buhos, Pure Love, and Americas all in here. Singularity is going to take out King. Waste no time on the flush. And you can see just on the opposite side here of Pure Love, Buhouse are sending 3 to investigate what's going on here. So America's trying to very quickly establish some part of this town for themselves. But you can see, I mean, it's very crowded right here.
Chilling in the Ville. And the Panthers trying to breach those top mountaintops of Anchorville up there to the north, but it's going to be occupied right now from the Big Pickles with their 2-1-1 split. But talk about being occupied. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Not moving a muscle. But they know, Clover. They know.
Oh, singularity. That is a Hail Mary heal if I ever saw one. Down to 5 HP.
Ricochet grenade.
Oh, we didn't even get a chance to really pop it up. There we go. The heal's popping up just in time now as FAU-G pushes into the compound, try to put some damage down between him, waiting for his teammate to help push up the stairs. FAU-G is going to fall here. Pure Long, getting singularity. FAU-G actually was not in a position to help just yet, but you can see the throwables still into play. Pure Love trying to hold on to the upstairs for this while the rest of America takes the push. Long found out by a nade by Aaron. It's all up to Pandy, who tries to return the favor, but nobody was there. And unfortunately for Pure Love, they are pure out of luck as they are going to fall here. 3 still up for the Americas, but Boo House wastes no time to try to put the pressure onto Americas before they can recover.
Yeah, still 4 up too, and just overlooking that fight, trying to third party that. But we see Martin right now, that rooftop, they got to be cautious because there's a team all the way up there with sightlines. So I believe that's why we didn't see them get fully aggressive here and try to take out the Americas when they were hurt.
I mean, all right, back to these rocks. These rocks were huge, clutch and play. There are so many teams scattered out through this, mixed like sprinkles. I mean, look, you've got Syntax thrown in the mix here with the Big Pickle, thrown in the mix now with Panthers. The circle is going to pull back away from the high ground, going down south, right where we actually, I believe, saw the circle almost end last game. So before this even set up, look, Big Pickle already restructured. Luckily, they had sent one down that way. Now they could take that priority compound. And that's going to leave Panthers stuck in a position where they've got to deal with the remaining members of Syntax Jedi with that off angle. We've seen what happens when he can play that solo snaky game, but you also have teams like Violent by Nature and M249 that need to find where they're going to put down. And that's where things are going to get really crowded here.
Ooh, I like this too. I like this a lot from the Big Pickles, using those deployable shields to create choke points. Just in case they do get crashed on, there's going to be only so many options for the opponent to run through, and that just makes those sight lines even easier for the spray down from the Big Pickles. So utilizing these deployable shields, I love it, and their vehicle placement as well to also help with that, because that's the Doodle Dude right there blocking that doorway. Looks like the Doodle Dude is going to be looking up there with the 6 times on the hilltop. But talking about the hilltop, we got to push.
Well, there you go. I was wondering when this was going to happen here at the Panthers having to hold off. Once again, Team America's Peel had a nade in his hand. I don't know if he primed that before he'd thrown it up. It looks like it didn't matter anyways. Malkin with the flush, and the remaining members caught off now. Peter Boy needs to take a quick break to heal, and Panthers still got to focus on to get to the zone. They did lose one, but again, I mean, Dave, the amount of drone credits that they managed to hold on time and time again still leaves them with options going forward. You can see the flare is out. They managed to grab one out of that crate as well. And so 6 teams alive. I mean, it's still with such a small circle, very, very crowded here. And part of the reason is just this rocky terrain. You can see now Kitty Cat driving right past Jedi. Oh, this snake game. Once again, we saw it in match 1. We're seeing it again here in match number 4.
Yeah, Jedi recognizing that there's at least 2 enemies in the area. Not making a move yet. Just going to try to utilize that same snake strat they did in game number 1 to capitalize and get 3rd place, by the way. So we'll keep tabs on them, but they're going to be rolling right behind M249. M249 grouping up just a little bit more here, taking shots across the way on the Panthers, who just called in legal. So legal is going to be in the sky. This should be an easy point for M249.
Yeah, this is great here. And here's the other issue, right, is now when you look down at the compounds, we've got that compound that the Pickle is in. It's just outside of zone. You had the split happening from Boo House, and that was keeping some pressure to Team America's down to the south. But with the circle centering itself up on that open terrain, that hillside down to the west, this is really... We're at 17 alive. I imagine this is going to go down to 7 very, very quickly as we wait for those teams to rotate through. Big Pickle already setting up again. This is what we see from them. They don't waste any time. They don't wait to see what everybody else is going to do. They want to pick their spot first and play on it defensively. We saw the car for it from their win in game 2. Might see it here now because beyond this, even if their car fort gets destroyed, the rest of this fight is really going to have to be played tactfully on foot. As I say that, Panthers tactfully taking the fight to M249 as well as they sent to Malkin. Is on the chase right now. See if they can spot out Sleep, but oh, what an angle.
Yeah, the Panthers had the intel that the Pickles moved out the gas station, so they immediately went there. M249 recognizing that push, and they pulled up to take it right from the Panthers. So that was a pretty impressive pull up from M249, while the Panthers were trying to get a foothold in that newly acquired position that the Big Pickles just left.
M249, they've got 3 up and alive, but Boo House, they still have 4. They're the only team with a full 4-man squad, and White sending it first into the zone, but that's very close to Pickle. You can see they've got that high ground position, but Kneecaps waiting for him at the base of the hill. Doodle Dude spotting out another player as well. So those snipers, really, I mean, this is a perfect angle to play this from, but White, I think reading the situation, just calling it out his teammates in the nick of time. Hey, there's somebody a lot closer here than I anticipated. We need to make sure we take care of them. And we're down to just 4 teams. It's 3 in a snake, right? Jedi hasn't been spotted out by M249. We saw what he managed to accomplish versus them in the very first match. But we'll see what can happen, if Lightning will repeat itself. But what's happened now, Kneecaps has been spotted out. That's huge for Buhos to play this angle.
Yeah, Kneecaps trying to be sneakier right there, trying to be that surprise factor, was called out. So that's going to set the Pickles down a member as Doodle Dude and Bacon Rick on the high ground, just letting it rip with the custom M249, 150 bullets in the magazine, as it is going to be just ringing down on top of M249 fan club down there below.
M249 is in a terrible position. The big thing, obviously, now is with that last member of Syntax taken out, they can really just turn their attention forward. The problem is everybody has their attention on them. Buhos has the angles, 4 players up. The Big Pickle, 3 players up. All of their attention on Sleep, the remaining member of M249. And it looks like, at least right now, both teams focusing on making sure M249 don't come away with the win. But now Bacon Rick, once again, turning his attention a 3rd time now to Buhos. 1 player knocked down to the zone. Sleep still alive. Can't discount him just yet. Look at Buhos down to just 1. They stood too long in the blue along the edge. And just like that, it is a winner chicken dinner. Big Pickle pick up a 2nd win for the night. Dave, you love to see it. There's such great proactivity from the squad.
Big Pickle, big chillin' out here. 2 chicken dinners, the Panthers with 2 chicken dinners. Shout out to Buhos Gaming, though. They have been somewhat consistent here tonight, and this is a team that I am going to admit that I've been sleeping on. I haven't really been paying attention to them just because we have so many other teams in a lot. We've taken a lot of the spotlight. That's almost playing in an advantage to Buhos, who are just, quietly maneuvering themselves to the late game almost every single game here tonight, and within grasp of a chicken dinner as well. What they had, like 3 or 4 up at the end right there. That in its own right is a challenge, right? Especially in this lobby and with these zones up there to the north of Anchorville, very challenging terrain to play in. So shout out to Buhos Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, Kneecap, who again we know is Winsanity, was in that position, right, to really make things, I think, even worse for our Buhos there, as White did manage to hear him out, and the rest of the team came in to help out, and they took out Kneecap. They were able to play that position. The problem is I think they kind of had their attention split a little bit too long on M249, ultimately falling to the blue zone at the end. But just that way, like you said, I mean, to get themselves in a safe position, to not waste too long to backfill as other teams moved on, that's what we saw from them. That's also what we saw from the Big Pickle, and I love to see that aggression, that not wasting any time to act from those squads. They're active, not reactive.
And if Poro's watching, I'm just gonna say M249 wiping out the Panthers right there. Poro, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Though that is that match. After the break, Toppy's Cameron to break it down.
Game 4 is done, and while the same two teams keep picking up wins, Buhos says goodbye to the top 4. That's where the money is, but that's not where Buhos. Or maybe they are. They come in. Is bonjour yes or hi or bye? I don't know French.
It's hello.
You know French? Hey,
Hello.
Buhos, welcome to the top 4. I haven't seen the scoreboard yet, so how can I know? Thanks, production, for not teaching me French, right?
Yeah, they really let you out to dry on this one.
Right? Well, I say oui to that. And highlights!
Yeah, bonjour to the replays.
Bonjour to the replays. There
Listen,
you
I gotta call myself out. I thought there would be a fight on this hill when there really wasn't. The way that the Panthers was positioning around that area baited me. They retreated when M249 arrived. But the fact that we saw so many people even just play a footsie game around that hill showed a lot of intention on how strong that position was. However, the circle continued to shift towards the west, and I think that the Big Pickle played it really well when they actually retreated away from a compound that was relatively central over to the hill, because it gave them all of this high ground that you can then now see them getting a whole bunch of kills from.
They sure did. I mean, the Pickles, they're playing really smart. They're almost like a weird, not weird. I mean, they're almost like this natural evolution of sort of between the Panthers and M249. Like, they're playing aggressive and looking for fights, but they're doing it in a really smart way, I feel like, Cameron. Like you said, they kind of pulled into the spot. You saw them maybe think about some engagements and choose not to take some. I don't know. It's very smart. And I guess that, you know, I've heard they're pros in another game, so that makes sense that they would be showing up and putting up. What do you think about the Panthers at 53 points, though? That's pretty big.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
There's not much more to say about it than that. But following up sort of what I was talking about, the difference between Panthers and M249, and we saw this on the previous overall standings, that it's obviously still here now, is that the kill points are not that much further apart. Panthers do have a little bit more because they are able to get those end game kills, but it's the placement points that are making the biggest difference here. And if this sort of play style that the Panthers have carries through into the grand finals, M249, who from the very beginning were the team that were the team to beat,
right?
It looks like it's going to be an easy win.
It does, and that's an issue that I have. And I'm going to pull up the other two. Let's get Clover and Diamond Dave in here to chat with us a little bit more.
That was too slow.
That was good. That was all right.
Good try.
We're not. You made this an art form, Toffees, and I am just a cheap imitation.
You guys are doing your best. Dave reminded me of, like, my kid threw a surprise party for me once out of nowhere. You know, it's like, hey, what are you doing, buddy? Surprise. Okay, let's talk about the teams at the top. They're doing great, but here's my question. At the bottom, we've got some teams that are struggling, Clover, but the reality is they've all qualified to the grand final. All that matters today is money, right? And literally the top gets like $3,000 and the bottom gets not a lot. And the difference between positions is a ton of money. What do we say to these teams at the bottom? Like, should they be just going hyper aggro, hot dropping, getting crazy the last 2 games?
You know, I mean, Dave and I talked about it a little bit at the start of the previous match, you know, and I agree with his thought, right? If you're in the position to make a run for the top 4, to make a run for the money today, go for it. Turn it on, right? Like, just go for the wins. Obviously, you've had your chance to kind of work on the things that you need to work on going into the grand finals. But, you know, like, bring your A game already. If you're in a position where maybe that's not really your focus and you've probably wasted too much opportunity to make that comeback happen already, just keep doing what you're doing, you know, and maybe save it as a surprise for the grand final. You know, it's a tactic, right?
It is. It is. Is that the space stone on your microphone? Do you have an infinity stone just casually strapped to your mic? Interesting.
I don't even know. I think it's just the reflection.
It's the reflection off of that. Yeah.
I appreciate. Okay. I thought
really
she was over here putting the
sudden.
Tesseract together. Interesting. All right. Well, you know what? Game 5 is about to get underway. We're going to crown a winner in only 2 more matches, so don't go anywhere. Cameron and I are going to leave, but these two are going to walk you through game number 5.
I want there to be one time where production just leave him hanging. You know,
like where they go down, like to the south, and
or you go something. Come on, make it happen. He's
help us
been
out,
too
production.
Smooth. Yeah, he's been.
He really is. You know, like you talked about, we need some practice time on this. So, but that said, I mean, we're out of practice time. This is the penultimate match for today, for our final day of Open Qualifiers. There's money on the line. But there's so much more than that, as we've talked about time and time again. Now, we once again, Trailer Park Anchorville. I feel like this has kind of been a good practice spot for all of these players today. No surprise to see the Big Pickle taking that northern position. Pure Love once again playing on the edge. And is that a hot drop? Is that M249 and yet another hot drop?
The Panthers, they heard it. They heard the devs talking about how, oh, the Panthers so much better. M249 dropping in Trailer Park. The Panthers drop spot right here. P19s, Clover.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me a few days ago this is one of your favorite spots to see pop off. But talking about pop up, we've got trades left and right. M249 with 2 players already down. One fleshed out on the Panthers. Steve Malkin is just free-firing around every angle, hoping to catch out. Remember, Kit Kat down to 16. This is not looking great for M249 right now.
Through the tarp. I talked about it, I think, yesterday. That tarp is not hard cover, and that right there is just map awareness. The pre-fire through the tarp. You love to see it. You love to see it. Kitty Cat gonna be trying to heal on up while Jason with that Uzi and sleep with the LA.
I mean, you got to be careful, right? Leaving Jason alive, because you can see already the recovery that M249 have managed to pull back out from that. Kitty Cat almost got her health back up to full form. There comes the flush now onto Sad. So Peter Boy, Malkin, it was looking like this fight was starting out in their favor. Now I'm not so sure, and Malkin is actually going to break away. Knowing where this is, he's just going to go, you know what? All right, Peter, you're on your own. Peter has found out immediately if Malkin can get this vehicle and drive away. I mean, there's that potential recovery. We've talked about how good Panthers are with their credits. This is the time to put it to the test.
They're a good team. Grand Finals, I could definitely see the Panthers being top 3 easily. You know, top 4. But I know the Panthers are at the top of the leaderboard. I know they are. But after that, oh.
Yeah, that was not a leaderboard winning play.
Yeah, can you deny M249? And when people say they're probably the best team so far that we've seen in New State Mobile Mashup.
Absolutely.
You can't deny it. You know, they just hot dropped the top team tonight in the lobby and cleaned them up. Clapped them.
Do you think, I mean, is there a chance that's what M249 is working on today? Just hot dropping on areas, following other teams, and maybe looking for opportunities to come out with those hyper aggressions you've talked about, like the stressful situations, the mentality. I mean, that is the best way to practice it, right? Is to hot drop onto another team and a different team at that every match.
Well, Sleep was telling me that their game plan tonight was to feast on all the chicken. And, you know, after watching the first couple matches, I'm like, nah, I can't believe that. But, you know, after that drop on the trailer park, they did not have to go there. Their drop spot at the hall is in this circle. So they did not have to go to trailer park at all. So the fact that they dropped on the Panthers, who the Panthers go to trailer park, that shows, number one, they're aware of the lobby. You know, map awareness, they watch the VODs, they know who drops where. But number two, I think what that really shows is they're telling the Panthers, look, anytime we feel like it, we can drop on you and we will ruin your game, because that's what just happened. So the Panthers might have been feeling really confident, pretty happy tonight, I have to assume. But after that drop, they're probably like, holy guacamole. Like what if M249 did that during the grand finals, right? When there's 200K on the line, they're keeping other teams on their toes is my point here. And
especially as you point out, given what's going on with the lobby today, Panthers and the Big Pickle with 2 chickens apiece after 4 matches. M249 have to gently remind everybody, yeah, we're not in first place, we're in second. We're behind you right now. And yeah, we don't have the win, but we can still win against you. And that's the message that we just saw in this fight.
But can they really win?
I believe, 2 games left. Is this the game where we finally see M249 pop off? Because now if you're Panthers, you're going to have to focus a lot of your time and resources on recovering from that early fight and may potentially not have as many engagements in your favor until later in the game.
But when we're talking about win with the WYNN, can they really win? if you get where I'm going. Can
You know
they
what?
drop on this team
I get
and
it,
win?
right? And
Okay.
there's 38 points right now for the Big Pickle. They do have those 2 chicken dinners. They're making those smart plays. I would say they're probably one of the more successful teams that have been able to not only play rotations but play open terrain, right? We saw the car forts. We saw the way that they could really switch from an offensive to defensive very, very successfully. But, you know, obviously still the factor is whether they can keep up with M249 or the Panthers through the second half of this. The points are starting to get away from them here. After that top 3, though, there's a little bit of a drop-off, right? We've got Buho with 25, Syntax, who have really been losing fights early. A lot of those points have come down to Jedi snaking out in the late game. I mean, not typically we see way more kill points for Syntax than we have seen from this. America's Pure Love, Violent by Nature, I'm not seeing their normal games today, so my hope is truly that they are working on things. This is not what we've seen from them in the past.
Yeah, I know we were complimenting Buho's gaming, but you just pointed out something really nice, that we're not seeing the normal kind of games from STX, from Pure Love, from Americas. So that could also be playing a factor in why Buhos are up there at the top of the leaderboard right here tonight. So looking at STX, I agree with you 1000%. They haven't been showing themselves here tonight like we're used to seeing. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm not even seeing the deployable shield usage that I've been complimenting them here all week on, that they've been showing up in the late game with every single time. Yes, these zones have been pretty complicated to deal with, like we see right here with the next circle, as Pure Love are just off center, big chillin'. So that could also be a factor in why STX are having a tough go at things here tonight. But we keep talking about it. These teams are qualifying for the grand finals, so there's almost a sense that you don't want easy games, right, Clover? You want to practice these very challenging, hard shift zones and put yourself in that situation with that high intensity, that pressure, to see if you come out on top.
A little bit of pressure out from Americas onto Buhos. This is really just going to keep Buhos further on, right? None of these teams are in the zone. This is not a fight that's going to pop off, but it's just kind of letting them know, hey, they're here. Maybe hope to pick one off. And, you know, I want to kind of double back real quick on Pure Love. We saw the circle center up on them. And, actually hold that thought, because Buhos are really taking this rotation even riskier. So now they're driving past a second team. That is going to be Syntax. Miraculously, though, they've actually survived for the most part of this rotation. I say that waiting. Okay, I think we're at a safe distance now. They've survived this. But back to Pure Love, because right now they're at the center of the zone. They have been playing the edge. They've been on the chase. We've seen them rotate halfway around the circle. The circle shifts. They rotate entirely around the other direction. It's been almost chaotic at some points. So they have traveled the furthest at over 1,000 centimeters prior to this match. And in nautical miles, because I know, guys, we've been giving you the nautical miles, that is 0.581. But, you know, it's like when you have that time traveled, sometimes you don't always have as much information that you want. So that said, though, America's Syntax. Buhos kind of pulled both of these teams into each other. And now America's taking the fight to Syntax, who have struggled to survive these early game, really just, I'm going to call them slaughters, because they have been slaughtered, and that's not typical of what we see from them here. Jedi holding an angle, did see one. White's going to run up the stairs, though. Koba accidentally knocks over a teammate, but he does get another member of the Americas in that engagement. He's going to have to stop to heal, though. He's the only player still up there for Syntax.
Jedi, half HP. Also, Violent by Nature have With No Honor across the road trying to get that wraparound. Koba, though, not slowing down. Gonna be proactive here, trying to confirm another elim point. Gonna be vaulting through the window, getting another one. With the peek out from Jedi. 1 HP with that UMP. The UMP with the higher rate of fire up close and personal compared to the AKM. Just winning that engagement.
You know, it's heartbreaking to see, because we were literally just talking up Syntax and what we needed to see from them. The fact that they're not winning these early fights, that's inside of a house. Those are the fights they win. Those are the fights that they were just absolutely dominating. And you hate to see stuff like that. Now, good green flare purchase there from Buho. They're going to work on rezzing up some of their teammates that they lost in those rotations earlier on. They lost White and Drip, so should see a recall for one of those here momentarily. But, I mean, again, back to STX and some of the other teams that are struggling. I'm excited that they're working on other things, but I hope that they don't get to a point where they can't go into the grand finals prepared to shine. And that's where my fear starts to set in as we come forward to the penultimate game. And it just seems like even just the simplest fights that they should be winning out, they're not.
I want to see M249 push this. They see the green flare in the air. They're going to see the player. They're up there on the high ground. And Buho is going to be calling in another green flare, trying to blow up that drone in the air. Probably going to do so. But I want to see them just full push this, just because they hot dropped here this game, right? So you got to assume after almost wiping out the Panthers, who Malcone did get Peter Boy back up in the blue, you have to assume they're feeling good, though. They're feeling confident this match.
Oh, no, Drip. You got to feel confident. Look, they're hitting these shots. Jason got Oh, with the SLR, and 249 are going to pick off that recall that Buho tried so desperately to get that player back. And
now they know who it is.
Yeah, they know exactly who it is. And look, that high ground, I mean, that gave them that advantage, right? Because you've got that member of Buho that's not only dropping, but they're dropping down into the dip. So seeing that, though, look at those parachutes coming down for Americas and the blue. Just you got to be safe, right?
Oh, Buhos, they knew for a fact after that knock from M249 that after M249 recognized which team it was, they knew that they were going to push. M249 were sending it to the compound. Meanwhile, the duo from Buyos were like, nah, we are out of here. They got their vehicle. We see them going all the way down there to the south. That's how you know a team has so much respect on their name that a squad doesn't even want to attempt a compound defend.
Yeah, and I mean, smart play too for Buho, right? To read that situation and not waste any time to reposition. The circle did center itself up around the exhibition hall. Pure Love's compound, that priority spot. So as M249 sends Sleep to investigate, try to see who is occupying that space. The other team that we know is proactive and likes to waste no time, the Big Pickle, coming in a very similar rotation off to the east. And so now for the teams that are a little bit slower to get in the circle, that is teams like the Panthers, teams like Americas, and even Violent by Nature, I'm going to be a little bit worried, wondering how they're going to get themselves in a strong position without losing players, especially with so many taking similar wraps to get in position. But nice spot out there by Pandy taking out Sleep.
Yeah, Pandy and Long have been really nice here tonight with hitting these long-range sniper shots. I was going to say, though, we are near the hall, so this is the backyard of M249. This is their terrain. This is their home. They know all the hilltops. They know all the cover. They know all the bowls and dips. So we got to keep tabs on them. They also got 2,500 drone credits that they can utilize here. Now, I would have called it a GG for M249, but Doodle Dude picking up the P90, that's going to be hard to win against. You know, I was going to say, that's going to be hard to win against, unless it looks like M249 calling in a red flare, unless they get a P90 in that care package to match the Doodle Dudes out there. Looks like we picked up some batteries. Possible.
You know, I mean, what point do they need to rename themselves the P90 fan club, you know, instead of the M249 fan club? Is that the play here? But all right, here we go. You brought up Big Pickle. You brought up their position. M249, you say that this is the terrain they land, the terrain they're familiar with, but now with so many players starting to look for that spot in the zone, exhibition hall is actually still empty as well. That could be a potential spot that we see the Panthers put down as their remaining members manage to break away from Americas and Violent by Nature. So the northern side is going to be potentially a kind of a free-for-all for all these teams, and that's where my fear starts to set in for M249 if they're prepared to play this defensively.
Yeah, and unless you got a knock on M249, you're not going to know exactly where they are. And I think the reason nobody's opting to go into the hall is because they probably assume M249 are holding it down, right? Because that is going to be their drop spot. So up here in the north, America's pulling up.
I mean, really good spot out by Americas. We've seen them play the hills. I know we talked about M249, or excuse me, the Panthers and the high ground, but it's also been the way that Americas is like to play right now. But unfortunately, Singularity is going to get spotted and punished there by Sleep. So although M249 caught off guard initially, they are going to recover very quickly as it's now just up to Aaron and FAU-G. A little bit of return fire there onto Sleep, but he's going to waste no time sitting on this. Remember, he is out on an island away from the rest of the teammates. Aaron is going to try to keep him on the edge of zone outside of circle. But the issue here is if Americas get tunnel visioned into this fight with Sleep, they're going to allow the remaining members of M249 to act.
Yeah, I'm looking at M249. Cairo just put 2 fresh batteries in their vehicle too, so unfortunate for them. Jason might be calling in a green flare. It looks like Sleep was trying to go for that wraparound flank onto the Americas, but now possibly getting sandwiched between both the Americas and Violent by Nature. Gonna be pulling back to their team members. Next zone goes up. Pure Love, Big Chillin' still in the zone with the hard cover.
Yeah, Pure Love's getting Pure Love from the circles right now. They've been, their compound is great. They haven't had to move for quite some time. My only problem with that is they probably also don't have as many resources or information on the rest of the teams in that late game. But that said, M249, you called that recovery. We can see they're back up to 3. They got Cairo back up into play. They're only down to about 920 credits, though. So still getting that pressure from the Americas along the edge. But Americas actually turned their focus a little bit to Violent by Nature, try to go for that wide wrap, and it's going to take them right there into the Americas. So they're going to catch them off guard here. And the kill feed as well. You can see a little bit of love coming in from Big Pickle. They're all the way out to the west, but they've got eyes on Violent by Nature, too.
Yeah, they do have this high ground, but the blue zone gonna close in here soon, so they will have to reposition. And they know there's a lot of enemies over there on that west side because they've been third partying it as Doodle Dude with the mini 8 times.
Oh, down half. Come on, dude.
Oh, the reload. Oh, they got him.
Long.
Oh, Long from the compound, stealing that point out of the sky. And I don't think the Pickles appreciated that because now they're going to be rotating on a hilltop overlooking that compound. That's Pure Love are holding down.
Yeah, you know, you gotta give credit, right? Pickle putting in all the work there, only to be stolen away. But look at this, FAU-G amazingly still alive. I mean, just the resiliency of Team Americas through all of this, driving right past Pure Love's compound. That scout, that information Aaron's gathering in about whether or not they want to crash this compound. We've seen a lot of crashes from Americas, especially when they feel like they've got nowhere else to anchor down. They're just going to go for that Hail Mary clutch play. So as they're still driving around in vehicles, that could be what we might see from them if they're not caught out on these rotations. But this hillside that we've seen Big Pickle set up on just outside of the exhibit hall allots them line of sight on all the teams. As you can see, Doodle Bob connecting there on M249 to try to wrap around the backside of this. Bacon Rick keeping that pressure, and M249 are just going to put down right here. They've got nowhere else to go. Jason falls. It's only up to Sleep yet again. Trying to stay alive, but nowhere to go. That's it. M249 taken out of the equation.
Yeah, the Pickles, their map awareness to be able to spot out that vehicle rotates and get as many shots and even the vehicle explosion on it before they even got close. Real heads up play right there for the Big Pickles with 7 elim points. Next zone does shift, and that hilltop no longer in play, at least the cover right behind them. So all that action, all those shots, all the kill feed, mayhem. I'm looking at Pure Love. They are definitely expecting a push from the Pickles here very shortly. So they're going to be looking at that hilltop.
Yeah, I mean, Pure Love really got to sit pretty comfortably in that compound for a long time. Although they do have a knock, they should be able to recover. And they've got that compound for a little bit longer. So resource-wise, them and the Big Pickles coming into this final fight the strongest. Everybody else a little more fractured. America's down to 2. Buhos down to 2. The Panthers only up with 1 if they can't get this res. You can see the pressure that they're receiving from Bacon Rick. So almost a 2-horse race in the last of this game, but I don't want to discount anybody else just yet. A lot of that factor is going to go for this next circle. Phase 7 could potentially take us, as we see now. Malkin, he's just got to sit in the shack. I mean, this is probably a heartbreaking situation to see, but there you go. You gotta give him credit.
Yeah, I believe Bacon Rick rocking the custom SLR with the long barrel increases the damage as well. Malcolm finding out firsthand how much that hurts.
Go Pure Cross. Keeping that watchful eye on the smoke, seeing who else they can spot out. And here we go. The send starting to come now from Big Pickle. Seeing if they can clear up anything in the smokes and the cover that the Americas have sent for themselves, as well as center circle. So Duda just across the street, that's in throwable range. And he's got a little bit of cover here in the tower. So you can see the tracers coming across the screen that's coming in from Pure Love and their compound. So unfortunately, Duda not yet in a position to stand up. Unless he can get a little bit of help from his teammates, might be able to take some of the attention away from Pure Love. But there you go. Another send. Doodle Dude takes a little bit of damage on that transition. Hasn't been taken down just yet. And Bacon Rick trying to see if he can find another safe angle on this. Unfortunately, Pure Cross is going to get that knock onto Doodle Dude, so he wasn't able to get up the stairs safe.
Yeah, they need to take out the Americas before being able to reposition and focus on the Pure Love. And I believe they're recognizing that right now as the Americas looking to toss some long grenades. Doodle Bob tossed the smoke, probably going to be attempting to get the pickup on to their Doodle brother down there with the P90. Doodle Dude. Oh, but Bob also spotted, even though they had that guard tower cover.
This is a tough game, unfortunately. As we see now, all eyes up on that high ground. The high ground can come in clutch until you have to leave. It makes you a really vulnerable position because everybody can see you coming down from that hillside. There's not a lot of help here. The smokes, although giving cover to Americas, are, at least for right now, giving Bacon Rick line of sight break. And you can see the smoke wall coming out from Pure Love as well is going to give him some help here. He is going to spot off King sitting in the blue. Might just give this one up to the zone, but seeing if he can at least pick up one more point before he goes. The play zone is ultimately going to take out Bacon Rick, and Pure Long and Pure Love now taking the fight straight to the zone. They've got control. Americas have to push for them. Aaron is going to spot one as Cross falls down. Things could go either way for either team here. Aaron, the last one still standing up for Americas. He seems to know where Long is, but focusing on getting that kill there onto a member of Pure Love. Spots out Pandy, but unfortunately just didn't get him as Pandy was lying prone. 11 HP, tries to heal. The zone is gonna do the last of the work, and we finally have a third winner on the board. Pure Love picking up their first chicken of the evening.
Pure Love playing the long game, finding a solid position, a solid compound to hold down. And what they did, they just made sure that everybody on the team stayed alive to that late game, and they popped out that compound with 4 alive. Down to just 2 here in this 2v1, but regardless, they had it on lockdown because they were the only team not impacted by the blue zone. They weren't taking any blue zone damage, so they had the zone in their favor, and they planned that one out pretty well here, in my opinion. And that's going to shoot them up this leaderboard, putting them in a nice spot to get some additional money here tonight, Clover.
Yeah, it was a very well-needed jump for them if they wanted to make that run for top 4. Pure Love have been kind of lingering down near the middle to the bottom of the leaderboard through today. And, I'm going to give them credit. Their ability to pick apart the Big Pickle, really focusing just on that one team so that they didn't have to focus the push from both teams. If they had allowed Big Pickle to rotate successfully, then they would have had to worry with both Americas and the Big Pickle moving forward. So really good mindset there to kind of take that fight tactfully, pushing ahead. And ultimately, though, it was getting a little close. I was wondering there if Aaron was going to be able to pull off an insane 3v1, but kudos to Pure Love. They really deserve that chicken dinner.
So, do the Panthers have to worry about another hot drop in the final map? That's what I'm looking forward to, because after that last game, the hot drop from M249 totally kind of, I want to say, destroying or deflating their balloon, their morale just a little bit, because they were doing so well here tonight, this evening, that after that hot drop, they might be looking, if M249 do hot drop them again and win, they might be looking at losing maybe $1,000 here if they get bumped down to second place, which obviously they don't want to happen. So match number 6 here, Clover, probably going to be a spicy one.
Absolutely, and that'll be something I'm really looking forward to hearing Toppies and Cameron break down on the desk. But before we get there, we've got to take a very quick break before we go into our final match of the evening. Don't go anywhere.
The penultimate match is done, and with one left to play, Pure Love makes it purely amazing as they come out with a victory over Americas to clinch at the end. That brings us up to 3 different winners over the course of 5 games, but it's coming down to the wire. Let's go straight to highlights, and then we can get to the board so we can look at exactly who is competing for the cash. It's highlight time.
Straight on in. Let's go.
Bring it on in.
Highlights for Toffees, for you specifically. So you know what? Why don't you take
highlights? Okay, that's M249, and then that's also the Panthers, and they're shooting at each other. Pop, 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 pop. Is that how we do highlights? No.
Okay, I'll take over. Let's leave it to the experts.
You're so much better than I am.
So again, as Dave said, we're getting a lot of circles that are on Anchorville, but we're also, these same circles are also continuing to hard shift off of them, which just pulls more teams to fighting on these extremities. M249, though, they're always thriving in the chaos. However, their ability to take fights, come out of them with at least 1 or 2 people alive, and then immediately get into a position to be able to respawn their teammates back in to then go back up to full force is really a sight to behold. They didn't get as far in this game as we traditionally saw, but now Pure Love, they were able to take control of the end game. The one thing to note, though, is that while, yes, they were able to win the game that they were supposed to win, which is always an important skill to have in this game, they don't actually have that many kills because the circle hard shifted onto them in the mid game. They just sort of like sat around. They didn't have much to do in terms of defense. So I think they only picked up, what was it, like 4 kills themselves, whereas the Big Pickle, while getting 3rd place, got 10 kills, which is how they've actually been able to jump over M249 fan club here and get surprisingly close to the Panthers' first place position.
Yeah, it seems like the Pickles are very smash mouth. They've got a good style of play. I'm starting to feel like maybe some of these teams are getting answers to M249 because they are meeting them with equal aggression and winning. And I'm not sure M249 is used to that second part, right? Like, I think that they've had a lot of equal aggression thrown at them, but have yet to find very many contenders who can kind of take that fight. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about. Actually, let's call in. I want to get Mustache Dave and Clover in here because, in particular, Dave comes from the...
I don't have the timing, man. I can't do it like you.
It's tough because you have to start from the bottom. Okay, so you know the mobile scene. We know that we're seeing some COD pros right now playing on Big Pickle. I've heard that there's a PUBG mobile pro team rolling up with Noah from YouTube that's going to be incredibly strong. Does this spell trouble for M249 that they're meeting teams that seem to be able to take them in these fights?
Yeah, all types of pros, right? From all types of mobile Battle Royale games coming into New State. It is such a new esports ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Yes, they have that experience. And I think that experience plays a big factor in the mental aspect on knowing how not to get pressure, tilted, or whatnot, or even arguing within the team comps. But I think M249 have the advantage because they've been playing New State since day one, right? They've been grinding since day one. I talked about it last week that I'll log on to New State, and even after tonight's games, the team, they're playing just regular matches after the tournament for a couple more hours, right? So they're just playing New State so many more hours compared to these pros from other matches or other games, that is. I think M249 have the advantage still here, Toffees.
All right. Well, the advantage here is for the two of you because the final match is about to get underway. We're going to figure out who takes home the big cash. It is time for our last match of the night. Cameron and I, let's go.
Oh!
Listen,
let's go. All
what
right.
happened? What happened?
I love it. All right. You know what? It's okay. Toffees, even with that, you still made it look good. So, but you heard it here, right? We've got one more match to go. M249 still have not come with the win. There was some point in that match where, I mean, you pointed out that's their stomping grounds. They looked like they were in a good position, and then things not so much because a lot of people had really similar ideas on how they wanted to wrap, how they wanted to rotate. I think we've talked about the way that teams have been studying VODs. And I mean, if you know that a team like M249 is winning all the time, do you think there's even a potential that some of these teams have been studying M249 and thus learning how to best them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you always want to follow and imitate the #1 team in the lobby, you know, get some tips and tricks from them for sure. And I think a lot of teams had definitely kind of developed a good understanding of their play style. As we're looking at the line,
Ooh,
Jedi
all right.
just parachute in right there. Nice, yeah, nice looking skin. So M249 going to be dropping on Pure Love. So back-to-back games with some hot drop early game action here. And oh, Sleep, dude.
I always feel like Sleep's the first and also the last player for M249 when you see these engagements, right? We can't discount him just yet. I think there's still an opportunity M249 to get bought out. But all right, here you go. Both teams know who's here. I think M249 anticipated it. We've seen them hot drop and bully a lot of the teams that have been winning today. The exception to that, I think the only one we haven't seen them hot drop yet is the Big Pickle. In part because the Big Pickle just really changes up their drops each and every match. Additionally, we'll probably start to see it in the kill feed here, but we also have a hot drop going on between Syntax in the Americas. So this is going to be a true testament to see if Syntax can survive an early game fight. Again, Caveman has already been knocked down. Koba with that M24 is going to land a shot. So all is not lost yet for Syntax, but this is their last opportunity today to end the last game before the grand finals on a high note, right? You don't want to come out of a weekend feeling a little sullen when you're looking at the way that things could potentially play out going forward.
Hopping in the Nova, looking for some rotate action over here. And yeah, I think the Big Pickle's real flexible, right? To your point, real flexible in where they drop. And I'm not discounting the fact that they're pro players. You know, they've been pro players in other mobile battle royales for a couple of years now. Like, that experience is important, and it's showing how important it is and how impactful it is here on the gameplay. We see them on the overall leaderboards. I was just complimenting the fact that M249 are some real new state grinders, right? And it shows too, right? So there's two sides to that coin, and I think that's what's going to be so interesting coming into the grand finals, when you throw in those influencers with it too, right? So the grand finals, it is going to be very spicy, very interesting, and these teams, they're going to have a couple more days, right, to prepare. So whatever they do within that time frame, we might see these bottom teams that just barely qualified here to the grand finals. We might see them look completely different in the grand finals, right? So because, like you said, they're going to be looking at those top teams and looking to adapt to their play style, or even taking some tips and tricks from them based off the last 3 weeks here that we've seen in the opens.
Yeah, I mean, because again, there's teams that are in the grand finals that we're not seeing here today. They've either made it on weeks prior, previous influencer events, or even just the couple that we got to bring in from the round of 16 yesterday, teams like Strangers BD. And so even though they're not here today, they are also in that presence to watch these teams learn what they're doing, learn from them, maybe change up their own personal meta, and hopefully, as you even say, get all that playtime between now and next week and to prepare themselves for the grand final. All in terms of preparation. And what we've been seeing, though, you know, Violet by nature, we're watching them rotate right now. This was the team that gave M249 a run for their money yesterday in their lobby. They were constantly traveling back and forth. They were second in kills and points at the end of the day. I expected so much more than to see them with 16 points after 5 matches. So I really hope this is just a day of them working on random things that aren't resulting and translating into points, because I truly believed at the start of today that this was a team that we could see challenge M249 in the way that we've seen it with Panthers and the way that we've seen it with the Big Pickle, who will be showing up in the grand finals as Team Win Sanity.
Yeah, and there's a couple things from multiple teams here that they do really well. The Big Pickles, their reaction time is phenomenal. STX, they utilize their economy. Ooh, hold up though. You were just talking about a possible fight here. Cinders on the broken wall with the barrel. Nice little angle right there.
Yeah, you're getting knocked down to 21 HP, but he's still in it. He's not going to take that break to use any of his meds just yet until he could make sure he secured a little bit more damage. But here's the issue. By the time he finally does, kneecaps around the wall is going to clean him out fast. Now, Jedi, last hope here for Americas, was with no honor. You can see he's just going to finish bleeding out now. Doodle Boy should get rezzed up by Bacon Rick, but you can see Jedi is heard that smoke, kind of read the situation, thought now the time to push, but DCAP still at factor, and and he turned away at just the wrong moment. So America's unfortunately going to fall. This was a very successful push coming in from a Big Pickle.
Oh, they're shooting the crates too. Shooting the crates, adding a little bit of salt to the wounds as they're going to be picking up
that's
some.
like the modern day, I don't, what did Poro call it once? Like, bad manners, something.
BM?
We have our PC terms for things, right? We can't say all the terms we like to on broadcast. But
hit him with the emo. Hit him with the emo.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah,
just
the little
hit 'em with the
celebratory,
emo.
the putting down of the flag, so to speak. You love that.
Yes, yes. And kind of what we were talking about before that pull up, every team, the top team, they have like their specialty, like their niche, right, on what they're really good at here in New State. And SM249 are one of the best teams, but they do have room to improve on, right? And I think they recognize that, and I think that's why they're using today's lobby to possibly try some new things. Like we saw in game number 1, Kitty Cat with the frontline entry fragger, right? Usually we see Kitty Cat in the back lines playing that sniper role. So they are for sure changing up some things. And when we look at the grand finals, I know we saw them hot drop 2 games in a row, but when you have 200K in prizes on the line, you're probably not going to hot drop. So there's a lot of things. And I guess what Toppy's was saying with the Big Pickles, I think this is like the first week we've seen them, and they have just shown up here in this tournament, and they've been doing really well.
Yeah, and I think too, I potentially, obviously New State is a very new esport, right? But when we look across other esports historically, when we get those influencer teams or teams that kind of come in from a rival's perspective, I think sometimes there's a bit of a disconnect from the esports players and influencer players, right? You might be good when you're streaming, but are you good in a competitive environment? And the answer, in my opinion, over the last few years has trended towards yes. That I think that there is a huge room, right? Because as you point out, those players are playing all day, every day. They're building their reputation, not only understanding the game in every aspect, but also in understanding the meta. So when we see teams like Team Winsanity and what we'll probably see from Team Noah from YouTube, as well as Surfin' Boys, that you've got a lot of players with a strong understanding of how to dominate in New State. And that is what makes me excited to see how they pair up against teams like Team Panthers, who have that esports experience across Battle Royale for multiple years. M249, as you pointed out, that have excessive play time and have been playing since day one. It makes it really excited to see in the way that this is going to break out.
Ooh, talking about breaking out. Nice little rotate right there between the Big Pickles and STX. Now, STX, they're probably looking to get some elim points this game and possibly even a chicken dinner because they are really playing catch up. 7th position gets you $500, but if they can breach that top 6, that's $750. So that's a little more money in the pocket here. And STX, these zones just not have been in their favor tonight. But with their current position kind of playing off center right here, they're set up in a good spot here for this match.
And this is what they need, right? They don't need to be fighting along the edge outside of zone, struggling for a position, getting to kind of turn things a little bit defensive for a little bit. I think can maybe help them have that recovery. 28 points, it's not too far out of the top 4, right? Eight kills, that's all it's going to take to jump where America's is right now. If they can make sure to outscore Buho, Pure, America's this match, especially with Violent by Nature already taken out, which I hate to see. They didn't put down a single point this game, but
happens.
I firmly believe, I think they're just trying to hold and hide all their cards until next week.
Pure Love taking some shots out there, big pissed after their drone got stolen right there. And I think that might be one of the benefits of playing the edge too, because the drones, they always come from the edge of the map. So you have a good opportunity to try to yoink those opponents, their sweet loot that they're calling in. We can see Pier are not happy with that one because their custom kits were taken right from underneath them. And talking about Pier, we got Big Luke with the hot take, hot stat fights here as Pure Love has traveled the furthest here, about 0.81 miles. That's a lot of traveling here, Clover.
Yeah, that was a lot of traveling. And right now, a team that is traveling, M249, wrapping in the backside of this. They heard the shooting, trying to investigate to see if there's anything they can pick apart here with Panthers. And again, I mean, they're looking for the fights. They're looking to get involved. And that's something that I've really been enjoying seeing from them today. So, yes, they're in third place with 49 points, but I don't think we've really seen them lax a whole lot. But as I say that, they're going to have to break away just a little bit. It's not quite the safest spot to put down just yet. So they're going to let Panthers and Pure Love battle this out just a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I would not want to find myself in front of that Electron right there. That thing looks like it'll splat you in a second. And looks like M249 going to be possibly pulling up onto the Big Pickle. Their arch rivals here. The Big Pickle, they were able to successfully defend that gas station against Violent by Nature. Looks like M249 avoiding those shots for the time being. Sending it up there. Nice little off-center position.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of just outside of Mesa. They found themselves a nice position, as you said, just barely off center. It's a good place to play from, especially with nobody else to their north, northwest, and down to the south. It is the Big Pickle, which, I mean, if you're going to be close to a team, this might not be the one I recommend for right now, as they're tied in second place versus Panthers in terms of points, but they have been dominating in terms of damage and kills. So the Big Pickle, Bacon, Rick, and the rest of the crew, they're established here, and until that circle moves, we'll see in just a few seconds, we'll know whether or not they can keep playing defense or if they're going to center it up, because again, they like to sit center. All right, they don't have the zone, so they're going to reposition. They know M249's in the area. I'm curious to see if they're going to send to Mesa or maybe even try to wrap big and go around the street. That high ground is just barely in Mesa, and that could be a potential spot we look at Big Pickle from playing as well.
What a spot, too, for M249. So M249, they're still in their vehicles on a rotate or the next zone pops. So they were prepared to prioritize positioning here. And right when it popped, they immediately went right here, or dead center. Now we see them getting on these rooftops to get those additional sight lines. And remember, they wrapped from the west all the way down to the south, right back up to the north. So they have a lot of intel on where possible teams might be coming from. And we see it right now. We see it. They're taking some shots onto the Americas, as the Americas are looking to center up as well here.
Yeah, you can see a lot of teams had the same idea on what compound they wanted to put down on. So Sleep, lying in that pressure, looks like he's taking shots at Aaron, JJM for Team Americas. FAU-G is going to try and find a compound. He did get one for free out on the eastern edge, so America's continuing to play the edge right now. And M249, at least for now, has mostly held off any type of incursion. You can see Pure Love got a bit close, and though at angle, Angry Boy keeping Jason off the rooftops. So this is where the closeness can start to come into play, and we can see those snipers making big moves for teams as they're locked into their compounds. Look at that Koba and the kill feed with the M24.
Clutch, Koba, and the kill feed right there. America's with a 2-2 split too, and they do have a green flare on one of the duos. So I do like that. But there's a couple teams down here in the south. The Panthers, one of them, Clover, all the way down south. They got about 3 different teams possibly gatekeep them, or at least going to cause a roadblock. And I'm pointing out the Panthers because they're currently our first place team. Like you said, tied with the Big Pickles. And the difference between first and second, $1,000. So the Panthers do not want to get taken out early right now.
Yeah, and you know, too, the high ground, it's a thing they like to play from. We've seen them take late on those rotations if they can get the place that they want to play from. But right now, they aren't really breaking away from this fight with Buha. I think they've read that it's just Martin left. As Martin tries to send it down, he's going to get caught out by Legal. And now Panthers can finally turn their attention to recovery and reconnaissance. They've got an open rotation to the west. If they take that act quickly, I can see Mesa being a successful point for them. The Edge still has good places to play defensively. There's still compounds available to them, and that's the gameplay that we like, or we've seen rather, the Panthers prefer to play. Unfortunately, though, given the circle and the time that's left as Phase 4 is closing in, they're having to hang around to the south, and that area is crowded right now, occupied by Syntax and the Big Pickle.
Yeah, they're just going to be hugging the blue. And one good thing about the gasoline vehicles is the battery doesn't get drained if you are in the blue. So they got 2 V-Rons on their rotate as they're trying to avoid the sight lines of STX. And now the sight lines of the Big Pickle, the team that is hot on the trail to try to earn some more money here in this match.
Oh, did he lose a tire? I'm not sure if that was a little offensive or defensive driving there from Panthers, but all 4 members were able to get in safely on rotation and spot out bonus, a member of the Big Pickle. See Doodle Bob stuck up there behind the boulder. Not a lot of places to go. So Panthers do have a position here to play in zone, but they've also got to be careful. Bacon Rick just on the edge of this compound. So this is the play, right? First and second place. Those teams engaging one another right now. The favor starting to lean towards the Panthers.
Doodle Bob with the moves, though. He was surviving the shots from the Panthers, but then stood still behind that boulder and got one tapped from Kitty behind over there. And once again, M249, really solid spot here. They have a nice opportunity to probably take some shots onto Pure Love.
Oh, here we go. The crash onto Rick. Panthers read this. They know that there is not a full squad here. You can see Rick already running to the backside to see if he can get any kind of line of sight there on his teammates. A good shot by the M4 onto Sad, but he's going to instantly pop those meds. Bacon Rick is just going to get in the vehicle, try to drive away, but hits the fence, gets caught off guard. He's actually going to get Peter Boy down. So amazingly enough, Bacon Rick is still alive, but okay, never mind. As I say that, he just got spotted out by Legal.
Peter Boy bleeding on out outside the warehouse. And that was a pretty big pull-up for the Panthers, because now they have hard cover right here on the edge of the play zone. And they took out one from the opponents that are in second place. That's a huge, huge come up right there. And they got drone credits.
I love it, right? And that line of sight too, right? I'm gonna use Poor's word, the line of demarcation, that open field right there. They get third party. This crash happening here from Syntax. They're gonna push into Pure Love. Jay White getting a knock there, and you can see members left and right of Pure Love are pure gone. Koba cleaning up house, but unfortunately they're getting third partied here from up the hill. Big Pickle is going to knock down 2 members. That's Jedi and Koba, both taken down, but luckily they've got a little bit of smoke cover. So this is really just spray and pray coming in for the Big Pickle uphill.
Calling pure points right now for STX. STX, they are trying to chase down that 4th place position, the $1,000. Right now, they're sitting at around 750 as America's pulling up with the drive-by. Uzi's out, leaning out the window right here. And did they just wipe out the Big Pickle?
Yes, they did.
They did. Oh, America's, let's go. Still,
I mean, that's huge. The Panthers, at least for right now, don't have to worry too much about losing their first place spot immediately. The Big Pickle was in the chase. America's 41 points. They've got the high ground. But the Panthers left their compound. They read that in the kill feed. They challenging that position. Simultaneously, M249 pushing this from another angle as well. They had the same idea. Legal finding an opening knock onto Singularity, lying prone. You can hear the throwables in the background. This is a 3-team fight.
Oh no, yeah, M249 looking to get involved, actually leaving the compound that is in the next circle, and on the hilltop, America is trying to defend from all the angles. Angry Boy trying to defend against 3 right there, taken down from the Panthers.
Here's the question. Syntax is not engaged in this fight. Nobody is in the zone, and there is a crate and coverage up for grabs. If you're a Syntax, your choice right now, get involved, third party this fight, or go for the zone. But unfortunately, as I say that, Sleep had the same thought of mind, playing that off angle that we so often see him do, using himself as an insurance policy now as Jason and Kitty Cat are gonna fall. So M249's dream not yet stolen, but they've got the first foothold in the zone.
They do, but they were in that compound with 4 up a moment ago. They decided to push out, get involved, get aggressive, and they paid the price. And the Panthers still 4 up over here, Clover.
Was FAU-G still alive? Oh, he is. I think Panthers might have miscounted and assumed that they got him all. He's going to continue running out in the blue zone. He's got 1 first aid. We're going to see him try to pop right now. 10 bandages beyond that, but outrunning the blue, it's just not looking like it's in the cards. So FAU-G going to try to keep that dream alive for his team as long as he can. You can see those 2 solos there on the right-hand side, the little green blips next to those team names. Panthers, 4 up, 4 strong, and 4 in the zone. My heart breaks. Syntax has taken so long to figure out what they wanted to do, but they have now been punished for it. Spotted out, picked off 1 at a time here by Team Panthers. The last player with nowhere else to go, and all eyes on him here.
Nice little taps out there with the custom mini. STX, 70 limb points though. They are
3
definitely popping
solos
off this game. Two alive for the Panthers too. So the Panthers aren't out of this yet. They're not out of the trouble yet.
Jedi is alive. Jedi is alive. He's snaking and he's crawling towards the Panthers. He's ignoring the zone entirely, hoping not to get spotted out by Sleep. We have seen this play from Jedi now 3 times tonight, and it has worked well in his favor every single time, though not for the chicken dinner, but always for those surprise kills to potentially ruin this for somebody. Is a 2v1v1 set up right now, the zone in favor of Sleep, who's got the compound and the shortest distance to travel into the circle now as the blue moves. Jedi, it's now or never. Where does he act?
Jedi, if they can get second place, that's 6 points, and that might put them up there with some more monies at the end of the night, as Jedi is going to be popping up, taking some shots. Did they get the thirst, though? That opens up for Sleep, though. M249 versus Peter Boy.
Oh, they're still, yeah, Peter Boy was lying prone to pop off those meds. You can see, though, the Tommy gun is out. Smoke walls are thrown. Sleep knows exactly where he is. The shield is dropped, and this is the coverage to play from. He has a general idea where Malkin is, but Peter Boy actually was attempting to get the res at the worst time, ending finally in match number 6, M249 getting their first chicken dinner of the evening, and they'll close out the day with 62 points. You love to see it. Good job, M249. Dave, we wondered when they'd finally get that win. It was now.
Yes, M249. Winner, chicken dinner, the final game here for the grand finals. The thing is, the Panthers absolutely dominating this match with 11 points. I think they left here with about 11 in total. So M249 awfully close to possibly taking that first place spot. But Clover, I don't think they were able to acquire as many points necessary to do so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even you pointed it out, right? M249 left their compound of safety, tried to third party that fight on the hill that the Panthers were taking up, ultimately had to send Sleep back, and Sleep having to play the rest of the game as a solo. You kind of have to wonder, would things have been different? Would they had more limb points? Would they been in a stronger position in the late game had they not done that send, right? Had they held on to the compound a little bit longer? We know Jason loves those rooftops, but ultimately, you know, that wasn't meant to be. They still did manage to pull out that clutch chicken dinner because there have been so many opportunities for that to have gone any other way.
And who has been just that clutch solo all night long? We've seen this player at least 3 games tonight. The last one alive, Jedi. These players, they need to watch out for Jedi, because Jedi alone definitely knows how to play their role and just continue to acquire points for their team here, which is a skill set in its own here, Clover.
Well, speaking of skill sets, we've got a skill set from Toffees and Cameron Davis, so they can help us break down not only the match that we just saw, but also the day, because, guys, we're done. The qualifiers are over now.
Oh, well, cool. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Whoa. No. We're not done. The players are done. We're not.
Standings. I got it. Okay. Hey, Jedi's good, but don't sleep on M249. Or sleep on M249. That guy's wild, bro. Wild.
Okay, add another one. Add another one to the sleep pun marker. I think we're at like 13 now.
Cameron, you should have seen yesterday with the pickles, man. Oh,
well,
dang.
you know what? Cameron, your
dang.
insults are getting tired. Let's go to the scoreboard right now. That was for you. That was for you. All right, here's the awards. The Panthers coming out on top with 74 points. Y'all calm down. M249 in second, Pickle in third, Americas in fourth, and then it's real close until you get to Violent by Nature, which I'm not going to talk about what's going on there because I have no idea and I can't wait to see what happens.
Hey, they're in the grand finals.
You're right. They are in the grand finals. And maybe they get some money. Let's take a look at the money for today because that's what we played for. The Panthers get that big ticket cash, $3,000. Violent by Nature, they got 500. They didn't even have to work as hard as Buhos, so I guess they're the big winners at the end of the day. M249, 2K, and the Big Pickle, $1,500. Not bad for a first-time show-up, Clover.
Yeah, you know, not too bad.
Not too bad.
All right, here's the thing. I'm so proud of the fact that Panthers showed up today because I was so worried after watching them Friday and Saturday that they weren't. I'm so glad that N249 finally won that chicken dinner. But the Big Pickle, guys, that has me so excited as well to just see what's going to happen with Winsanity's team next week.
Okay. The problem there, though, is that that's a really good teaser, and I think that we're going to rightfully so be watching them. However, when you look at them compared to the Panthers and M249, they're essentially making a roster move going into the grand finals. Maybe what we saw today will continue in the grand finals, or maybe changing a whole 25% of your roster could set them back actually a fair bit. So I think that's definitely going to be a bit of a coin flip for me. If you're a betting man, if you know, I think more realistically, Panthers at M249 are going to be a lot stronger of a expectation going into the finals.
Does that mean that you're doubting Winsanity? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. I like
it's
that.
Roster change doesn't matter who you're swapping in and out.
that
Roster changes a week ahead of time. It'll make a difference. That's
I like it.
That's it.
I'm just gonna give you a hard time. I do think that's a great point. Dave, real quick, M249 and the Panthers, they started the show by fighting at the end, and they ended the show by fighting at the end. Cameron mentioned it. You know, are you on board with this idea that this is it? These are the two big dogs, and everyone else is trying to be part of the pack?
I'm just happy that finally M249 have some competition, right? Because they had 2 weeks of just breezing through these lobbies and just racking up the money for the prizes on these Sundays. So now the Panthers showing up, some decent competition to keep M249, I think, on their toes and looking to continue to improve their gameplay.
I like it. Cameron, you said you were tracking a little bit today because the way this plays out will affect the seeding. Well, we have the official groups of the grand final, so I'm going to have you walk us through it because the seeds are in. Let's do this. Group A.
Ooh, Group A has both M249 and the Panthers. This is going to be huge. This is already, I'm going to be calling it the group of death here. You also have Syntax with Jedi himself as a potential X Factor. This is going to be a very, very dangerous group. And look, Team Sanity is here. 3 of the 4 members of the Big Pickle. Who is left to be even in Group B?
I mean, I don't know. I think you're right. Is Winsanity kneecapping the team? We're going to find out. Group B, let's take a look at it. Dave? What, anything in here? You know what? Okay, man. There we go. Hey, what do you like? What do you like?
Send it. What do I like? I think out of the 3 influencer teams, Winsanity's team is definitely the best one just based off of what I've seen here. Looking at this group in particular, Americas. I'm going to go with Americas.
Yeah, I agree with Dave there. You know, and again, we have a couple of teams that qualified this weekend but didn't make it out past the round of 16. Here, so already know that a little bit, right? That's going to be hard for them to play up against some of these teams, just and the way that we've been watching them in the past. But America's that consistency, the way that they've been playing, they got a lot of practice in today. Angry Boy, FAU-G, insane fraggers, Aaron, he's got the drive by, just the rotation down to I think of as perfect science and singularity. He's just really an all-around player for this team. So definitely keeping an eye on America's, and maybe even again, given that lobby, especially Violent by Nature, I think shouldn't have any issues. Cinders is such a scary player, so I want to see it. I want to see that team actually show up to play because I still believe in my head meta that today was just a practice day for them.
So I know that they're telling me that the show's over and we should go home, but I don't want to. I want to see something real quick as a quick.
Okay.
I want you guys to tell me so that I know what to be excited about next week. So in these two groups, and if we have a chance to maybe show them 1-2 real fast, let's do so. I want to know which one is the group of death because only 4 teams from each group gets to advance. So we don't need to show them. You guys just know it's A.
A.
Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
M249 Panthers.
Yeah.
And Winsanity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Group B is
already.
easy.
Your love's an
Group
A.
B is easy.
Like,
Group B
look at
is
this.
easy.
Ever like the luckiest draws to be landing in Group B. I'm just gonna call it out right now. You guys people complain about the RNG of Battle Royales all the time, incorrectly, might I add. Getting in Group B is even better than getting a circle shift, I'm gonna say.
Wow, you're right, because the paydays are going to be skyrocketing as you get to that top 8. So this is Group A is going to be gnarly. I cannot wait to watch next week. Guys, that is it. We're wrapping up for the day. I love final thoughts, though, so I got to get them before we sign out. I'm going to start with Dave, go to Cam, and then Clover, you get the final word. Mustache Dave.
M249 Grand Finals champions.
Let's
Putting that right now.
go.
Right now. I'm calling it early here.
All right, you hear the confidence. That's Group of Death. He's still confident. I like it.
Ooh.
I like it. Cam, what's your call?
No, Panthers. I'm sorry. It's easier to get to the top than it is to stay at the top. M249, they're not the force that we saw them get at in the first week here. So I think Panthers put out a significantly better performance. They got the kills and the placements to boot. They're going to be the grand final champions.
I dig it. Clover, final thoughts?
You know what? Team Sanity. I know we talked about the fact that Kneecaps was in, but Winsanity's still pretty scary of a player. And we know he's got those hours into New State. So my mind's on them. The Big Pickle, still up big wins for me, baby.
Over the Panthers, Clover?
I do love the Panthers.
Over the
But you
Panthers.
guys already picked. I had to pick third. I had to pick something different. I had to pick something different to keep it fresh.
We're allowed
Okay.
to agree here.
Yeah, we are.
We
Plus,
disagree.
y'all sleeping on Noah's team too. I think that they look really, really strong. So I'm fascinated, and they have an easy group to get out of potentially. So it should be fun to watch. I'm excited to do so. That's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Also, I want to say thank you for tuning in. This is my last night with you. Rachel Seltzer is going to be coming in next weekend to take you through all of the finals action, and it is going to be a blast. So make sure that you are here at the same time, at the same place, as we crown the first ever mobile mashup champion in New State. $200,000 on the line. If you miss it, you're gonna regret it. From myself, from Cammy D, from Mustache Dave, from Clover, from everyone in production, and from KRAFTON, thank you so much for spending your weekend with us. And until we see you next weekend, play more New State.